say it's the last attempt. Just saying it is streaming. Yes, it is streaming. Okay, thank you for all the patience. I appreciate it. Here we go. Done. Okay, you can take it away. Roxy, you can open.
Okay, I'm open for today. This is the second half of our IoT Day Women. As always, we are spontaneous and powerful women. I learned this from Sudha. We have to say powerful women. The first session we have for today, let me share the screen real quick for this calendar. Oh, I can't share the screen. So Sudha, you share the screen. But practically the first portion is at 1 p.m. Pacific. We have soft-spoken but strong personality with Susanna Raj, Paria Sareen, Yene, Yannick, Nikki, Astra. She can't join us today. And that is for the panel. At 1:45, actually, Sudha, at 2 o'clock, we have IoT panel, right? Do we have that AI ethic portion? Well, you're on mute.
Yes, sorry. So
Okay.
we've rearranged a little bit because of the time zones and who can be here or not. So what we are going to do is we are doing the soft spoken and strong personality led by Susanna Raj, Ine Yinki, and our own Sarin, who was the inspiration for the panel. And then 1:45, we will have AI ethics explainability session, where we'll show 2 recordings from our past speakers that we already streamed earlier before the live stream today through our night. And then 2:10 is the IoT panel with Roxy, yourself, and Sneha Jadhav. And then 2:30, Irene will be here on AI in product management. 3 o'clock, Leah will be back for prompt engineering. And then 3:20, I'm going to show 2 more recordings from amazing African leaders, Rutna Duta and Musima Masate, which also we streamed at their 9 o'clock in South Africa and Ghana. Then we wrap up at 4. So all this is on bit.ly/IoT Women, where all the women and all the schedules, everything is there. So those of you who are watching this later can go back there. And with that, we should pass it on to Susanna.
Susanna, yes. Thank you, Sudha.
Hello, everyone. I'm Susanna Raj.
Hold on, I'm just going to add you to the pin. Yes. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. I'm Susanna Raj. Welcome, everyone, to IoT Day Women. I am so honored to be a part of this event for a second year. My first year was with the Women's Explaining event that Jamthe hosted. And I'm still very proud of that because that was a great, opportunity to women explain what every man has explained for us for a long time. So this time, I think the panel's topic is called soft-spoken but strong personality. I am an AI ethicist, inclusive AI researcher, and I'm also a startup founder. And I'm incredibly honored to have Paria Sareen here with us. Also, Ini Inki, who is going to be on the panel here. Ini and Paria, why don't you come on camera? I think Paria is already on camera.
It's Ine Yankee. I've learned it, and I want everybody to pronounce her name right.
Ine
Yankee.
Ine Yankee. Okay, got it. Yankee. Okay.
Sorry, Susanna. I will not be turning on my camera.
That's okay.
Oh, okay. No problem. I know, I can understand. It must be nighttime for you, right?
Yeah, it's 10:16.
Okay, got it. No, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Okay, thank you too.
And I will ask Paria to begin. I will start with her. Paria Sareen is our intern. She was one of the program chairs for co-program chairs for our Global South in AI initiative that we founded last year, which is now a nonprofit organization, a 501c3 nonprofit organization registered in California. And here, the goal of the Global South in AI was to bring language inclusiveness in AI. And we hosted it at Neuro IPS 2022 in New Orleans. And Paria was pretty much the backbone, the front, the every part of it. She was the beginning and the end to all the events and the organization and for the whole part of launching such a big event for us. All of that is, I know we all love singing Pariya's praises, but more than that, Pariya is also an app developer. She is actually a high school student. So believe it or not, I don't know what I was doing at her age, but she is so amazing. She is incredibly soft-spoken, but has a very strong personality and is a very strong young woman who has shown great leadership skills. And I'm happy to welcome Pariya Sareen to the stage.
Okay. Yes, thank you, Susanna, for the welcome. And I'm glad to help with the IoT Day and Global South in AI last year. It was a great learning experience for me, and being able to help in some ways was great. And it was also great working with you, Susanna, and Sudha and Yash. Yes, and I also introduced myself this morning, but yes, and also thank you, Susanna, for introducing me again.
I know you introduced yourself this morning, but I wasn't there. I missed it. So why don't you do me the honors of introducing yourself and telling us who Pariya Sareen is?
Okay, yes. Yes, hello everyone. My name is Pariya Sareen, and as Susanna mentioned, I'm a high school student, senior at Gun High School, and I'm graduating soon. And I'm passionate about essentially helping the world through technology, and being able to help with IoT Day, Global South and AI is all part of that, what I'm passionate about. And so yeah, I did talk a little bit more this morning about specific projects that I worked on. But I also was here last IoT Day as a speaker, and just generally helping with the project management. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Pariya. And I know that our topic today is soft-spoken but strong personality, and that actually reminds me of you. You are very soft-spoken. When you came to actually speak and introduce some of our projects at the poster presentation session, my camera could hardly record your voice. You are so soft, but behind all of that, softness, and especially in how you carry yourself and how you worked with all of us today, I think the one thing that I find admirable in you is that you are very much resilient and you are very determined to see everything through, very organized and very detail oriented. But those are observation, I know, attitudes and, attributes that I have observed in you. But what do you think when somebody gives a topic name like soft-spoken but strong personality? What does that remind you of?
Well, I think generally, I think as even when we were talking earlier in the earlier panels, we were talking about how typically that's how women are perceived as soft-spoken, and a lot of people like Sudha, for example, Asra, and Olu, and just all of the other speakers this morning were talking about how they have to make sure that their voice is heard on the table. So I think generally that's what it reminds me of. Also, just this event in general is, part of that goal to connect and mobilize speakers and inspire other women and other people in the world to make sure that their voice is heard. So yeah, that's what it reminds me of. So yeah.
Yes, and there are two different aspects to that. We want our voices to be heard, not just at an audible level. I mean, that's a whole other thing. But then we want our voices to be heard in other ways, through written, through our actions, through our impact, and through all the things that we do and stand up for. And I think women are actually very loud in that. We do make sure that we are very much heard. We are very loud in that, and we may appear very soft-spoken. on the outside, but I think our actions and our impact have a much more louder presence in the globe. So in that vein, what is the one thing that you think stands out in your life so far? I know your life is very, very young. So within that span, what is the one thing that stands out to you that you're most proud of? You're the most biggest achievement that in your life so far and its impact on the globe.
Okay, so basically, we already talked about this a little bit just now, but I thought because working with you and Sudha is so important, and I think it makes a really huge impact. I would say Global South in AI last year was a big project for me. And I think one of the largest projects I've worked on, although I still have a lot more experience, a lot more experience to gain in my life. But yeah, I'm very grateful for that opportunity because I think it made a huge impact in terms of a global difference, and being able to help, with the website and outreach, connecting speakers from all over the world. I'm sorry, not IoT Day, connecting researchers from all over the world was, I think, made a large impact. So, very grateful for that. Should I elaborate or? Okay, next question.
Next question. It's not more like a question, but it's more like a follow-up. What is the one thing that stood out to you in all your interactions with all the researchers that you want to carry forward in your life?
I think generally, I don't know. Do I have to say one specific interaction?
Oh, yeah, you can say anything.
Generally, all the researchers are very passionate about what they're doing, even though there may not be enough resources for them currently, which is one thing we tried to do in Global South and AI last year, which is provide resources for them. And be able to connect all these people that are working in language AI, specifically low resource languages. So I think them being very passionate about it, working on specific, and not only that, also working on helping their community in some way, not just helping build the data set, but also working to solve problems. That was very inspiring for me. Yeah.
Thank you for helping us do that. I mean, without you, it would not have been possible. So I think one final question I want to ask you before I move on to Yaini. Hopefully I pronounce it. Otherwise, I have to ask Sudha again how to pronounce the name.
Susanna, we had a discussion, and one of the points was if our name is not included, if it is not pronounced right, or if it is not called out, right? If it could be you're in a whole room and you're just ignored and made to feel invisible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do. I totally understand. I believe in making sure that our names are called out and also pronounced correctly.
Yeah.
But it's something I had to, because for now up to this point thought it was Ini, and now it's not Ini but Yaini, right?
Yaine. Yaine.
Yaine.
Ine.
Ine. Okay. Oh, Ine.
Ine.
Before I move on to Ine, I wanted to ask this one last question to Pariya. So I can say with 100% certainty, out of all the women that I see on the panel here, you are the youngest. So I want you to not to speak for the whole young community out there, but I want you to speak to the younger generation in general, and especially the female younger generation who are in a similar state like you. I want you to talk to them and tell us, what is the one thing that you would give us an advice if somebody is very soft-spoken like you, but is having trouble being heard in this loud world? What is the one thing that you would give to them?
Okay, it's a very good question. Yes, as you know, as a high school student, and there are also many other high school students and other girls that are doing that are passionate about computer science, and many in my school as well. But there's also overwhelmingly there's also less diversity, as of now, and there still needs to be increase in diversity. So I would just say that at least for me, just having a certain mentorship, being able to work on projects, and of course, Sudha's inspiration for me, and you as well. Right. So I
Thanks
think,
for including me.
and all the speakers, right? So I think it's a great opportunity for me to learn, and also a lot of these lessons will be ingrained. So I think also just working on projects that you're passionate about. In the beginning, I did when I was younger, I did Technovation. That was a project where I got to work with other like-minded girls and also build an app. So I would just say work on projects and make focus on the goal of whatever change that you're trying to what's the mission that you're trying to accomplish, or what you're passionate about.
Mhm. And it is also important to see representation like yourself for other young girls, who might be more soft-spoken but strong personality like yourself. So you are the representation for them, and it's important to have representation like that, especially for women around the globe in whatever capacity we can. So with that, thank you, Paria, for being with us and for helping us run all of these programs. I know we are usually front-facing, but then there is so much that goes on behind the scenes to make sure that everyone who's front-facing looks really good. And you have been awesome in that, and so far that I had the chance to work with you. Thank you so much. And now I would love to call on Ine. I think I got it right. It's Ine Yankee. And
Finally.
finally. So here is how I'm going to remember it. It's E-N-A-Y. So that way I can Ine, right?
Yes.
Yes.
But you're not the only one struggling with my name. So I'll not say anything, because even people whom I've worked with for over 5 to 10 years, they still struggle. So I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Too many Y's. Yes.
Yeah,
That's the problem.
It's a good thing. I think it's a good thing. So I was saying, like, my name Jamthe. There are people who, because of in their language, J is silent. They actually, I had a friend who knew me for 10 years, and then she did a podcast with me, and she introduced me as Sudha Amte, because she never had. I was like, and I kept quiet. So, and I think it's an opportunity. So I mean, I know I'm harping on this a lot, but being acknowledged, your presence being acknowledged is power or inclusiveness.
True.
I've sat in rooms where people did not call my name because my name was different. And that's not okay.
Very true.
Right. And so I actually think in a room where you're the only woman, or you have a different name, there's an opportunity for you to use that, to speak up. And, you can just say, just saying, my name is pronounced as Ine, not Ini, and I remember you more than anybody else because you corrected me the first time, the second time, and the third time. And then I think I got it.
Yeah.
Well, during my university time, in our academic register, I was known as Mr. Yankee in Newcastle. The university kept that record for almost 3 years until they realized that, wait, Yine is a lady, Yine is not a guy, and that made me very popular.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a big deal here because even in India where the San Jose Joes, they call it a San Jose because they don't know that the J is silent there. And then there are people here who think the J is silent, and then they would have called it Amte.
Sorry, one of the reason I keep saying this is because, yes, it is inclusiveness if somebody pronounces your name right. But if your name, in whichever room you go, right? If your name, if I go to India, Sudha is going to be a common name. And Jamthe is not a common name from where I come from. I got it from my husband. I'm sure I do not pronounce it the way it's supposed to. But if you are, right, so my thing is, if you are not called out, it's not inclusive. That's one thing. But if people don't remember your name, it's a huge opportunity loss because then you miss out on follow-ups. They might say, who was that person? She spoke about this or that. I would like to call her to speak here, or I would like to do something, right? And it just shuts the door on you. So that's one reason why you have to speak up and make sure that your name is remembered, or there is some kind of identity tags by which people will find you back.
Yeah,
true.
And it is so important also to make sure that our original names, our traditional, ethnic, or whatever, as the new label that they have given us, it is our original names, our own cultural traditional names that, we should be asking people to pronounce it the way it should be pronounced. I mean, the world learned to pronounce Schwarzenegger, and if they can do that, they can pronounce our names.
Very true.
So Ine,
Yes.
I know you
Susanna?
from Go Girls Initiative, and I know you are running this great organization over there. But I also know you from Global South in AI, where we worked on the body language, especially on gender constructs. But I would love for you to come and introduce yourself to this audience and tell us a little bit about yourself.
That's always the hardest question to answer. But I'll try. So she's the mentorship director of Go Girls, co-founder, mentorship director of Go Girls ICT. Currently, she's a network coordinator trying to establish a formal network in South Sudan. We don't have any. So trying very much to make sure we establish one, several hurdles, but that is all in South Sudan. We fight through. Yine also sits on the board of NCA. So that's in relation to decision making and understanding policies. And I think beside all this, I always call myself as an open science researcher, because I think that's really, that is what makes me who I am. I don't want to use the word an advocate, but I think I'm a very strong advocate for STEM education in South Sudan, and I take that always proudly. And Unit is a conversationist. So if I'm not busy doing anything, you'll always find me having conversations and relevant arguments. Yeah.
Relevant arguments. So that's what makes Ine a strong personality, right? So tell us a little bit more about the initiative that you are running there in South Sudan, the Go Girls initiative, and your venture into the language AI space.
So in a nutshell, Go Girls the idea of Go Girls was actually sparked by students at the university where me and my friend were teaching. We had one girl doing computer science, one girl doing IT. I think that is around 4th year going to graduate. So that in itself sparked so many questions within us, because even during our university time, we saw the same challenge, that were very few ladies and majority men. So here we are now in the workforce, and you still have one girl doing computer science and one girl doing IT. And interesting enough, we were the only two female lecturers in the college, only two. I think today the college doesn't have any because I think I've taken like a break from lecturing. So the university actually doesn't have any female lecturer.
Mhm.
The college does, the College of Computer Science and IT, yeah, it doesn't have any female lecturer currently. So with all this background of still having these two girls, one was a bit active, the other one was, it's like you just have to push her. Her interest in education was very low. It's like she never understood anything. Her performance was very poor. And I remember me and my friend having all those conversations over and over again. And remember, then I was also appointed head department of computer science, just after being appointed a teaching assistant. So I think for me, I normally have this tendency that if I'm tasked with the responsibility, I shouldn't fail. So being head of computer science and seeing that I didn't have girls, I remember I walked to the dean's office. I had so many questions, and they're like, yeah, the challenges of South Sudan are many. You know, even in schools, girls are not there. Their participation is very low. They have no interest. All these things were just like, okay, this and that and this. So it's like we're not even pinning ourselves on any particular problem. And with that, we ended up being invited to celebrate Girls in ICT Day because that was in 2015. And it was the first time actually South Sudan took the initiative of organizing that, because that was the time then that they actually established NCA as a regulatory body. So with all these things, they're like, no, we need to invite the ladies from computer science and the lecturers to come. And reaching there, no one could talk about computer science or IT. And I was like, I told my friend, I am a head department of computer science. I am not going to embarrass myself and just sit here. So I just walked up and told my personal story. And that was the end of the event. And when we came back, we're like, we need to start an initiative to mentor girls in science, technology, engineering, mathematics, but we need to integrate art so that they see the fun and the interesting components of science.
Wow. And you founded Google's initiative, right?
Yes.
Wow. So there is something, there was something in you that was very, very, you were not, confident enough to go and do that, other than talk about your personal story there. But then
yes,
that's that strength from you that came out. I mean, look how loud and clear it is heard now around the world, especially in our country. But then, it's not about being loud and, brass and talking, overtaking everyone else, but it is those moments of strength that, comes out in us that tries to make the biggest impact. I think that's
absolutely true. Yes.
True women leadership. Don't you think that? I mean, that's what I see in you. You are always like smiling and, full of life. And, you have this strength in you that's so powerful.
I don't know even how that strength came by, because I think growing up, I just knew that I was a very shy girl. But I don't know why I got the strength and the power to always speak up.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing what Google's initiative has done. I mean, why don't we put her website up so that people can click on that, or maybe go see the work that they have done with the young girls.
Yeah, I'll find.
And oh yes. And I think in the coming days we are having a very small segment, IoT for kids.
Oh,
so yeah,
IoT for kids.
yeah. Yes, we are doing something on that. But we want to celebrate it on Girls in ICT Day, which is also this month.
Yes.
So yeah.
And tell us about your work with Global South in AI and your new adventures into the language AI space with Bari language.
Adventure. So I yeah,
I see it as an
it's an
adventure, so
adventure.
maybe that's why I
Yes.
use that word.
For me, it's really an adventure. And I think the whole spark came from the weekly words, because I think I follow a lot what Sudha does. And the fact that I'd spoken on weekly words, sometimes I'm there like, yeah, you need to attend that segment. And I think it was really the segment on, if I remember, it was on gender and AI and language models. And I was like, gender biases. Yeah, something in relation to gender biases, AI and language models. Are like, you have to attend that segment. You need to listen, because I think there is a lot that is actually missing in your community. So I think that just that one complete hour, it just opened my mind to so many possibilities and so many things that we could do. And that's when it just clicked that we actually have nothing when it comes to language models that South Sudanese could even use. And I remember after that call, that's when I went ahead to even have another private call with Sudha. And the fact that we had all these discussions, and there were also people of linguistics, I just started putting 2 and 2 together, and I was like, wait, if we are to do this as girls, the fact that we are from computer science background, this is very doable, but we need someone in linguistics because we lack the knowledge. And I'm like, wait, but we have a friend. I was like, I have a friend who is passionate about linguistics. How about I actually pitch to him the idea and gets his views? And he was like, that's very, very possible. And here we are today.
Here we are today. Yeah, I love
Here
your
we are today, going to do something with Global South in AI.
Yes, and also the poster itself and your contributions to that really was very eye-opening, especially, the differences in gender constructs within the Bari language and other languages. So I think
yes. And I think to me, the bottom line is we've talked a lot about gender biases in so many spectrums, but it's just like having the belief that as long as we as women don't create the technologies and know actually how these technologies are created, those biases will always be there. And I think that's like one motivating factor that actually said, you know what? You have to go through this and this has to get done in one way or the other, because you're a woman. Some of these words are actually words that are thrown to me. So imagine if it's just, for example, a man who just sits there and he does this thing and the whole system is out, everyone will use it the way it is. But if it's coming from your perspective, you understand what these biases are. Yes. And you can easily get rid of that and present a technology where actually women will feel like we are more represented. And this is not actually fighting us. This is actually supporting us. So for me, like that's like the bottom line of everything, really. Yeah.
Yes. It's the bottom line of everything, that we also try to do, that I also try to do, is just, we have to bring up all of these different components, and we have to make sure that our lived experiences are counted in everything. It's our culture, our histories, and all our, the diversity that we all bring has to be counted in every data set, every project that we do. And it's a wonderful opportunity for us also to collaborate with you on Go Girls Initiative.
So can I show your slide, your poster? So
yes, please go ahead, Sudha.
Thank you. What you were talking about, globalsouthinai.org. This is the event where multiple posters were presented by researchers. Here is us. These are all the different posters, research posters that were presented at
Oh, there's that one, machine translation for body language.
Machine translation for body. And so thought people could go and find that.
True, yeah.
Talking about gender bias and being universal and doing something about it, I also wanted to share one more. I'm in a big sharing mode. Okay, this is the poster that Susanna led. And here you see Ine, Tiago, my name, but this is primarily Susanna's work. So Susanna, do you want to talk to this?
Oh, yes. I think this is where I collaborated with Ine and also Tiago. And we were trying to, find the gender construct in each language and how it is interpreted in Tamil versus in Bari. And also there was another language which was Portuguese.
Yeah, Brazilian Portuguese.
Brazilian Portuguese. There seems to be a difference in between the other Portuguese and Brazilian Portuguese, and Tiago was enlightening us on that. So basically what we found is that in Tamil, in the language of Tamil, age is a proxy, is used as a proxy to find out the marital status of a woman, and that is included, like embedded, not even say embedded, like it is that word. It is every time a woman is called at each stage in her life, whatever she is called as a girl or a teenager or a woman, that actually denotes her marital status in our language. Not so in English, right? A teenager can be anything. She can be married or not married. A woman can be married or not married. A girl can be married or not married, but not so in our language. And then here in Bari, I think, Ine, why don't you come and explain that? Because that would be great for our audience to understand what you have, given us.
So in Bari, a girl and a woman is almost very hard to differentiate. Sometimes they could say, for example, Niro Nanakwan, that is, she's the girl, and the word Nakwan in itself means a woman or a wife. So it's one word with different meanings.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes for a girl, for example, if a man tells you, you're my wife, that's when we just look at how someone says it and the context, it's completely something different.
Mm-hmm. So it's a proxy for a dependent status to find out if the woman or the female is a dependent or not.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's the same way
Very
in Tamil
true.
also to find out if the woman is, married, unmarried, divorced, single, that's
very
like
important.
just
Yes.
like the variations in which we call a female is also embedded in the language. So it's basically in construct science, is like there are like constructs that we have, mental constructs that we have, and social construct that we have in every culture, language, and all of the histories of the world. And sometimes these constructs are also embedded in our language itself. So whenever we refer to someone, or when we are looking at something or trying to process something, those constructs are subconsciously making those decisions for us. And one of the goals of my research is that we have to deconstruct those constructs, because so that we can at least understand which ones should we keep moving forward, because those are the ones we will be teaching it to AI. And AI to me is like something that's going to be grown up in the future. It is still, a growing, innovating industry. And right now, if we don't teach it the good constructs, the constructs that we want to live with, then it's going to learn the same old constructs that have kept us oppressed, kept us colonized, that came from all of those patriarchal colonization, imperial histories. And those constructs will be embedded into that. Just say in the same way we use those two examples in two languages on how those constructs are there, just for gender alone and just for the female gender alone. And there are different millions of those things within our languages, within our social, understandings that we have not even broken apart to see how it is impacting our world. But the thing with AI is that it is currently so biased because it is now being trained with all of the constructs that we wish we could, offload, but we are bringing it to AI now. And that's why it needs the lived experiences and the cultural nuances of other, cultures and, races and, countries. It has everybody's lived experience has to be included in that. So it can learn multiple constructs for the same variable, and it can also learn to deconstruct some of those. So that was our whole, purpose behind Global South in AI. That's why we want to bring in more languages and more cultures and communities into especially make sure the Global South itself is represented in artificial intelligence. And Ine is now one part of it. And you should find out her profile on LinkedIn and join her and her entire community who are doing amazing, amazing things in South Sudan, especially with young girls, and see how you can collaborate with them and how you can help them and how they can help you learn a few things. So that I would love to thank Ine, Yenki, and Pariyasari, and for Roxy and Sudha for giving me the opportunity to host this and to come back here again one more time to IoT Women's Day. And that I will give the stage back to Sudha and Roxy.
Thank you, Susie.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Pariya. Thank you, Susanna. I appreciate that. Before Susanna leaves, I wanted to add one comment that I'm very thankful to Susanna because I felt this compulsive need to share my knowledge, and I like to constantly keep learning. And so I've been hosting a lot of a lot of general events, for my students and stuff, and this will a women event. But I was writing, teaching, talking, doing all kinds of things. And Susanna got me into this whole thinking about research, because research is something that is done with a certain rigor, and then you build on it and other people build on it. So she got me to think about how I've written so many books, but even if people quote that, it's not the same as research. And so that was helpful. And then that got me thinking about, there are more people like me who have some knowledge to contribute, but they don't know research. And that's how we got started with the whole global South. Of course, we wanted inclusiveness into the language. Why is that relevant when we are talking about here, especially, when we are talking about soft-spoken, strong personalities, is here we are talking women, and there are many other genders, many other dimensions to our identities. But when we typically talk about AI ethics, one common thing that comes up is we just need a diversity of people in the room. And by having a diversity of people in the room, you don't get a seat at the table. You don't get your voice heard. So if you are that soft-spoken person, and if your name is not pronounced right, or if you're limiting yourself from not waiting for permission and not raising your hand, you're not going to contribute the best of what you bring in this case to make AI work for you and whatever you're going to bring to the world. So I think that having that, being a strong personality, making sure that you speak up in a way that works for you to get the job done, to create the influence that you want to influence. I think that's very important. And that is something that I learned from Pariya, because I looked at Pariya and she would come and ask me, I want to do this, I want to do that. And I would give her stuff and she would go back. But I'm very thankful that other than doing what she was doing, she's made me very smart. Compared to last year, when we started out, when I was doing IoT Day, when we did the Global South in AI, she was involved right from the start. And she said, what is the messaging, what is the medium? And I have like multiple different websites, and we post here and there in so many different channels, and the messaging gets fragmented. And so she said, but that's very confusing. We should not have two sites. Why do you have two sites? And then I would like think about it. I was like, I had one. This didn't work for it, so I added this other one. But she put herself in the eyes of the audience, and she was able to empathize and then help create the right flow. So I was thinking, okay, you want to create the web design. I was trying to create a title for everything she was doing unknowingly. So I was like, okay, you want to do web design, go do the web design. You want to do marketing, do audience generation, do that. I was trying to put her in that, and she she went past all the boxes. And so I don't know, I other than saying she's been a partner with me and Roxy in building this out this time, I don't know how else to describe her role, because she's done a lot of different things. So thank you.
So Sudha, I want to say she is the leader in her area, right? So we have those leaders in every corner in the workplace. And this is why when you're talking about diversity in experience, with how the product is so much better, like technologists, engineers who have UX experience. That's what Priya has, is she can see it from the user experience, the user journey. So she asked us the question that we should have asked ourselves when we actually build the site, right? So excellent add-on to our team.
And the other thing is this year, we always do 24 women and 24 women, 24 hours as our theme and speakers. This year, we actually got 12 new women, and we actually got 13, and one of them couldn't make it. So, and Pariya got them because she said, where else should we post? I said, you can post in Women in AI, go ask Susanna, she would know some groups. And, I was like in some other LinkedIn group, but then she went off on her own and posted in a lot of places. So I've been lucky to meet a lot of new women in interesting topics, learn from that, because she did this on her own with her own thinking. And so that's amazing. Awesome. So thank you, Susanna. So we'll wrap up this session. And where is the schedule? So we had a bunch of women who could not join us live because of the live time zone difference. And so I just wanted to show, related to the AI ethics topic that we were talking about, I wanted to show some of the recording, a snippet of it, because I can't do justice. I can't be showing you 5 hours of video again. We have put together a playlist for IoT Day Women 2023. So, and I'm motivated to share this particular woman because she's talking about explainability and the need for AI not to be a black box. And you will see how soft-spoken she is, but you will listen to her. By the time she finishes, you'll be listening to her. So let me play a little bit, if you don't mind. So this is the IoT Women, and this is all the different live streams that's been going on.
Artificial intelligence is a rapidly growing field that involves the development of intelligent machines to perform tasks that typically require human intelligence, such as perception, reasoning, learning, and decision-making. AI has numerous applications ranging from healthcare, finance, transportation, and manufacturing, among others. My name is Myra Lahi, and I am a Canada-based researcher dedicated to using technology policy advocacy to serve my community. I have initiated various personal endeavors, namely establishing my own startup, working on app development, partnering with multiple organizations and academic institutions to research how emerging tech can assist disadvantaged groups, and spearheading my team in my city to educate students on the intersections of AI and justice. My unwavering commitment to using tech for social good and prioritizing the welfare of society motivates and encourages me on a daily basis. The beauty of AI lies in its remarkable ability to transform complex data sets into actionable insights that have the potential to revolutionize the world as we know it. With advanced algorithms, deep learning, and predictive analytics, AI can identify patterns, connections, and relationships that would have otherwise gone unnoticed. This revolutionary technology has given us the power to unlock insights that were previously hidden. At its core, AI is about leveraging the power of data to create intelligent and better outcomes, but its beauty goes beyond its ability to generate insights. It is also about its transformative potential by automating and streamlining our lives. It has the potential to facilitate efficiency, productivity, and innovation. However, while AI presents numerous benefits, its development and use also raise significant ethical concerns. These include the potential for bias and discrimination, privacy violations, and the unintended consequences of autonomous systems. Therefore, ethics is crucial in ensuring that AI is developed and used in a responsible and beneficial manner. Ethics refers to the principles and standards that govern moral behavior and decision-making. In the context of AI, ethics involves understanding the societal moral implications of AI and developing guidelines and frameworks that ensure its development and use align with ethical standards. The
Okay, I'm going to
transparency to make
forward that.
the training data that these systems use is also opaque, which further complicates the process of understanding how they truly work.
Okay, so that is Myra Ilahi, and her session streamed earlier when we did the recorded on-demand session, so you'll be able to watch that back again. But I thought she did a very nice definition of AI ethics and just introducing us to the concept of why we need explainability. There is one other person who's also new to our IoT Day work this time. And we started out, she is actually working in San Jose State as a professor and got a grant to build out this AI for social good as a course, and then does collaboration with several other California state universities. And so it's like a complex project that is not just in one university, but multiple universities. But I felt that that work was amazing, and we started the stream with her yesterday. Yeah. Professor Yu Chen.
Hello, everyone. It's so great to be here to share some of our work on artificial intelligence for social good, education, interdisciplinary, community engaged, and inclusive AI education. My name is Yu Chen. I am a faculty member at the School of Information Systems and Technology at the Lucas College and Graduate School of Business at San Jose State University. And this is a project with collaboration with the CSU Chancellor's Office STEMnet, Cal Poly Pomona, CSU San Bernardino, and CSU Long Beach, supported by National Science Foundation. First of all, what is AI for Social Good project? The goal of this project is to engage students, especially undergraduate students of all different disciplines, across all disciplines, to learn AI through addressing some of the most important social issues as identified in the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, which we can see on the right-hand side, such as no poverty, zero hunger, good health and well-being, etc. But in particular, we'll invite students, instead of addressing global problems, they'll bring those problems and identify those problems that might be able to manifest within their community. And in particular, this AI for Social Good education project has three main directions. Number one, we develop and continue to revise AI learning modules to situate AI learning in students' communities that contribute to and benefit student communities in relevant ways. And number two, we'll implement those AI for Social Good modules among students in multiple disciplines and multiple CSU campuses. And number three, through this project, we aim to generate evidence-based practices of culturally responsive AI for social good education. And let's just briefly talk about the different modules in AI for social good project. There are 3 modules for this project. Number 1, students will identify social problems in their own communities. And number 2, they learn AI concepts and or AI applications through hands-on AI labs and case studies. And module 3, students will learn AI innovation by either proposing or creating AI-powered solutions to address the social issues that they identified in module 1, and then at the same time discuss the benefits and risks. So what do those projects look like? On the right-hand side, here is one example of students' project featured by a staff at IBM. And this is back in 2021 when a lot of us still remember when a lot of education was still administered online. So one of the problems that our students identify is the very common mental health issues in the age of online learning. And identifying that problem, a group of 5 students at San Jose State University in Management Information System majors, they developed a chatbot using IBM Watson Assistant called Student Assistant Motivator, or SAM abbreviation, that aim to provide chat services to help students who are in isolation and provide them with resources that can help them alleviating their problems.
Okay, so I want to pause this. So I wanted you to see Professor Yu Chen's work. Again, you can follow through on our YouTube and on this playlist IoT Day. So when we hear about AI ethics, I'm working with Professor Chen to take AI, responsible AI, and teach that as an integrated module as part of San Jose State. And so I find the number of collaborations across multiple organizations that she's leading is very, very mind-boggling. And here, when I'm showing you this one of my thinking is, when we talk about AI ethics and AI for social good, it's very easy to think about I'm not on camera. So it's very easy to think about bias and how it is affecting this community and that community and things like that. And I wanted you to see the example presented, because when you ask students with the situational awareness and say, how would you use social AI to do something good? And they thought about what problems they can solve. So that was a pattern me and Susanna noticed, even with bringing researchers from Global South to add inclusion to language models. So when you're sitting in tech and thinking, I want to add diversity and I want to bring this other language, you're going to think about that language as an outsider. But when we went and talked to people from that community, they had problems they wanted to solve, AI became a tool. So that's what happened with the students. Instead of saying, oh, AI is this all-powerful thing, how do we make it inclusive and how do we make it do something good? They just said, we have a problem and many of our students are in isolation. Can we build an application with that? So I think that is very important, I think, when we think about AI ethics. I just wanted to add that. Roxy, do you want to add anything related to this, or comment or question? And then I'm going to wrap up, because this segment on AI ethics, at least we had 2 speakers, and I will come back to LinkedIn and give you the link so that you can actually go watch that. I tweeted this, I think, last time when this was happening. I was watching live. I was very excited. So on AI ethics, Susanna or Roxy, if any of you want to add anything, I'm happy to
I think it's very timely for us to really focus on that, right? With the generative AI, so many people actually start digging in, and many actually just get started, right? Though you, Susanna, and many of the AI leaders has been working on this for a long time. It's nothing new. It's not a lot of new thing, right? But the ethic, the non-biased data is so important for all of us to really always keep that in mind. There's a people aspect into the data set. So Susanna, go ahead.
Yeah, I would just add the same thing. I mean, it's nothing new for us. The same issues, the same ethical concerns that we have are the same ones that we are seeing now with the Chat GPT and all of the DALI and all of the new generative AI products.
Susanna, can we take a step back? I mean, I find that when we are, I mean, Roxy builds these amazing, massive scale AI systems. So nothing is new or nothing is hard for her. You are like in the whole AI ethics world, you made major corporations go change their way of doing business with just changing their labeling or creating constructs. Okay, so I don't want to say, we've been doing this, you know, when we have similar, that's what happens even in tech, when you have people who know it's the same thing, it becomes an echo chamber.
Mm-hmm.
And so I want you to take a step back. And when you say in DALI and ChatGPT and all, yes, it's the same thing. What is the, because you influenced me in my new book, Generative AI, a primer for product and business managers. You have not seen your name in there, but you influenced me to add that ChatGPT brings equity to everybody. Till then, I was just thinking about, okay, social aspect. And I have this on, the bulk of the book is on technology and explaining technology, and then the business implication and product management implication. That's my typical student profile. Then on the societal thing, I had a lot more questions. And I said, what about the ethics of this? What about the inclusiveness on this and all that stuff? And you said about equity. So I want to take a step back and you tell me ChatGPT and DALI, and they are all in this from an AI ethics lens. How do you describe them, good and bad?
The good is what I know. I have been trying to, because there's so much noise on both sides. The people who are, supportive of the technologies, who are, evangelists for the technologies. And I know you, Sudha, call yourself a tech futurist. So you are like almost like an evangelist for most.
I'm not an evangelist. I'm not, I guess you could say that. I get very excited, but I try to be very grounded. I try not to get, I'm a big optimist about everything.
Yes.
So it's very hard for me to say, this is bad, that is bad. I would say, this doesn't look right. Maybe we can fix it this way. So I'm almost an ideophoric person who's trying to problem solve.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there is there's two camps right now, and they both are fighting each other on social media. And one of them is 100% for it, and the other one is 100% not for it. But I think there is a middle ground, but nobody is talking about the middle ground now. So that's what happens when things get so polarized. And one of ChatGPT and DALI and all of the generative AI models is now, I think the topic on the social media platforms is now so polarized that either you are for it or against it. There is no middle ground. And the good thing about the generative AI models, I'm sure you covered it in your book, and everyone knows that, it can help you augment and, assist you in a lot of it. It helps you assist and augment some of your mundane and boring tasks, some of those things that, humans do not want to spend a lot of time doing it. It helps you do all of that. And it can help you with a lot more stuff, that, more products and plugins and extensions, APIs are built on top of it. So all of those things are going to help us. So that's the for camp. And the against camp is talking about this AGI, and it's going to come and gobble us all, and the zombies are going to eat us alive. And so it's this over the board, it's Skynet coming alive, and that's it. That's the end of the world, and all of those kind of things. But the AI ethicists are the ones who are in the middle. And we look at every new technology. Everyone thinks an ethicist, if you call yourself an AI ethicist, you are actually against AI.
Yes.
That's not
That's
the case. We are not against AI. We are for AI. We are for any technology. But we want to make sure that every technology that you see out there stands to benefit humans. And I won't use the word reduces harm, harm mitigation, harm reduction, all of those words that big tech uses, because we are not in the business of, reducing harm. We are actually in the business of having no harm at all. If you are going to develop something new, you might as well develop it without any harm, without the possibility of it, harming somebody else. And so this is not medicine, like you can say, oh, it will have a side effect. It doesn't have to have a side effect. It is something that you are developing as a tool, as a technology, it's not something we are inhaling or consuming. So why not make it harmless? And the possibility is there. And that's what the role of an AI ethicist is. And that's what we are here. And so we stand in the middle ground. For me, when I see ChatGPT and DALL-E, it took me a long time. I wait for all the hype to calm down before I try anything. So, anything, even NFT came along, cryptocurrency and all of that, I was like, let all the hype go down. Let the people who are for and against fight each other online. We will wait and we will look at it and we will see what can it do to benefit humanity. And to me, the most important thing that all of these new generative AI models can do is that it can augment a lot of our tasks. And one of the areas that I found that it can augment very well is that it breaks some of the equity barriers that we have in our in helping innovate and helping educate communities. It can break certain barriers automatically just by its existence. And that's where I saw the equity come along. And equity is a big deal in ethics. It's also a big deal in inclusiveness. Without you talking about equity, you cannot have ethics. Equity is the place, where, because not all of us start at the same place, not all of us have the same benefits and privileges. And when there is no equity, there is no ethics, there is no inclusiveness. But here I saw that there is an opportunity for these generative AI models to bring equity in there. And how do they bring that? There are many, many tasks that require expertise, and a high level of skilled expertise requires you to have a high level of networking opportunities or a high level of income. So there are those of us who are born with certain privileges or who have been privileged enough to grow up in an environment, and we do break that equity barrier through networking. The reason I am speaking here means that I was born with some equity. Some of us have those equity, and that's why we are able to come on these platforms, because we had the opportunity to network. And to our network itself is our equity and our environment, based on our environment. And those where when you don't have that, you actually compensate that with money. And money, those who have money can buy those networking opportunities, can buy that expertise, can buy those legal teams, can buy those advisors, advisories, councils, and all of those things. But now you can ask ChatGPT to do certain things for you that, you would not be able to do without either money or without the privilege. And that's where I saw it can bring equity in. But that doesn't mean we are now going on the wagon that is, going very strongly with, the generative AI models. We are, as ethicists, we are looking at what are other problems that it has now. Because the same problem for any AI model will also continue with the generative AI models, which is taking away people's privacy, making sure that, the data that it is collecting, it is being trained on. It's not inclusive. It doesn't have permission to do that. And the other thing is ChatGPT and DALL-E are only in the English language. That itself is not an equitable solution for millions of people who cannot query both of these generative AI models.
So ChatGPT has been officially trained in 7 languages in the world. So it is not all only the Western languages.
Okay.
Has,
but can you query in 7 languages?
So you can actually talk to it officially. You can actually talk to in 95 languages.
Okay.
7 languages is what is in its training data. Officially, it has been fed
trained in 7 languages, but you can
language intuitively, right? So that's the unsupervised learning part. Then they have 95 languages that it can do translation. So if you start talking to it and say something and say this in Vietnamese, it will start answering back in Vietnamese. So 95 languages. I don't know what other languages out of the 700 plus languages of the world it has left behind. So that, and I don't know how much of this. I saw somebody did a video on that and said Japanese is not one of the 7 languages, but it was okay according to the person who knows Japanese. So it does do that, but it will be kind of limited. But the data set on which it is trained is just from the internet.
Yeah, it basically, I was talking to somebody last night and she said, it basically memorized the internet for you. And if you think the internet is, ethical and inclusive and equitable, then it is, you can now, apply that to the generative AI model as well. But it is not, we know that. So that's why, we have to, there was an interesting with Andrew Ng and I don't remember the name of the other person. They had this, they were against the 6-month pause.
Yeah.
And to me, the 6-month pause itself is a big hype. There, it means nothing. They had a 6-month pause or, 1-year pause on a facial recognition. And we all know what happened to that. So, all of
these. Can we tell the world what the 1-year pause is exactly? Because everybody.
On emotion AI and facial recognition, they had a moratorium. Not a moratorium is the same as a pause.
They had a moratorium. The tech companies didn't have a moratorium.
No, they didn't. I think it started with the regulation industry and the advocacy groups, and then the tech companies one by one started jumping on the bandwagon.
So for facial recognition, what happened is Dallas Police Department did a pilot with facial recognition software, and then at the end of it, it came out that it was biased against Black people, which is very well known in all of AI. And so some advocacy groups called out on that. And so they decided to ban, and they ended up, the US government ended up banning the 3 top players of facial recognition who were in the running there, IBM,
Amazon,
and Microsoft. And I do a case study on this in my class when I teach AI ethics at Barcelona Technology School. So it's very fascinating for me because I present what happened, and then I ask the students what they would do if they work in each of the 3 companies, and they have to represent 3 companies and present that. And so there's like multiple point of views, right? IBM dismantled that AI group, the facial recognition group, saying we are not ready and we need to, start afresh. And the government had said 1 year moratorium, you cannot sell this technology. And Microsoft said, okay, we will put this on hold for a year and then we'll pick it up. They promptly picked it up after 1 year, and then they sold it to companies, and Uber used Microsoft, and then Uber got sued because that was biased against a driver. And then it backtracked, and Microsoft said, we're pulling this back. But also there was, not till recently, there was a strong AI ethics governance organization inside Microsoft. They all got laid off with the recent wave. And they decided to do more AI and wanted everybody in the AI.
Decided to invest more in OpenAI.
More in OpenAI, right? So then they got rid of the AI ethicists who were kind of asking them to slow down and do things right. Amazon, on the other hand, decided that they will continue researching and improving the model. And whenever they get the go, they will hit the ground running. And so that they did not stop. And ironically, I did a paper on using facial recognition to study inclusiveness inside autonomous vehicles with Yashwini Vishwanath and Suresh Lokaya. And we found that all the APIs for all the facial recognition models were available on all the tech companies.
Yeah.
And the fourth one that was not in the banned list was Google, because they were not in the running in the Dallas pilot. And we were surprised. We compared all four, and all of them were biased in different shades of bias. And it turned out that they all offer the API for developers to go build applications without any mention that there is a ban and they're not allowed to sell it or anything else, because they just think developers will try this, they'll come back, it'll take some time. Meantime, these things will get fixed, is kind of their thinking. And there are people building products of it. There are people conceiving new solutions of it. They do not know that this is unethical or biased or any kind of implication, and they're running with that.
Mhm.
So it was very, very shocking. So that's the 1 year moratorium, which did not even last a year.
That's exactly what the 6-month pause is also. It's
So
quite
6
not
months
going-
pause, I don't even want to give airtime to 6 month pause, because I think that's a joke.
Yeah, it's a joke. It's literally a joke. And then there was this recent, podcast or, some video with both of these two leaders. And one of them was arguing how we had, the printing press, the Guggenheim, how everybody was against it. And then it came out, and he tried to connect it all the way to how the United States was founded because of that innovation itself. Here is something that I want people to understand. Even there are people who survived Chernobyl, and there are animals and, plants that are thriving there now, that have mutated and found new ways to grow and thrive. Whatever you throw at the humanity, we will all find a way to survive and thrive and grow back. But that does not, give you as an excuse to say, let it continue, let the research continue, let it go on, let technology, this is the only sector that says we don't want any regulation. For everything else, for the medical sciences, for every other innovation, we want regulation. But this is the only sector that begs to not have regulation. And that is the problem with the whole generative AI models, that I feel is like, just as any other industry out there, you need to have regulation too. You need to have outsider input on what you're doing, is whether it's ethical or not. But there are some good and there are some bad that we will have.
Since this is a global forum, let me tell you, the only place where we do not want regulation, and we just want to, and we say that is against innovation, is US. And Europe has a lot of regulation. They started GDPR. There are Latin American countries that have adopted GDPR. So I don't think that the lack of regulation is a global problem.
Mhm.
And also I think it is because the way the top companies' business models, like Meta, their business model is purely based on our attention, right? So getting our data, even e-commerce, right? Getting our data and then making money out of that data, right? Creating value out of the data. And I'm guilty of teaching about how to create value from data. That is why I teach AI ethics in the same mode, saying, here's value, and this is wonderful things you can create, but be aware that this is the right way to do this, or this is how you take responsibility for all these bad things that can happen. So it's kind of, I take an approach where you teach the good AI and bad AI together and let students internalize and come, because nobody wants to create something evil. Only in the movies they'll show some scientist making something evil. It's not the average person out there. And so you teach them everything. Or if you just go and say, here's AI ethics and here it is biased, and they just think it's biasing somebody else. And they kind of have to do an altruistic savior mentality. And that's also not good, right? Then it's a nice to have, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, Sudha, I think one thing I want to add is,
Yep.
for anything we do in our life, if you have anything siloed, that's the problem, a starting point for problem, right? So even you have data AI, the countries, it need to be global, and it need to be knowing what the advantage and disadvantage of something, solve the problem at the root cause, the problem, find the root cause and actually tackle that is good. As much as we need regulation, but if we don't know and put the right regulation in place, there's so many loopholes that people can get through and do something not for good, right? So Susanna, you mentioned that start with no harm, right? That is the good altruistic way to do it. How we get there is another story, right? We need to know what caused harm, right? Because you're study with AI bias and inclusion, here are the biases, right? Surface all those and educating the people, then they can actually do a better job next time around. But like data, like anything, if anyone perform any task in silos, that come down to engineering from an engineering mindset. If you remove silos in human communication, data communication, network communication with the right ethic and security in mind, you can connect data from anywhere, anytime, securely, right? So
yes. And it's currently, whenever any tech company wants an AI ethics person in there, they want them to work in the post-deployment line, because they think, ethics is after you develop the product, launch it, and then it's post-deployment. Let's see how we can reduce the harms, reduce the biases, harm reduction, bias mitigation. All of those strategies are after the product is launched. But, it's not like that. It doesn't work like that. You have to start it at the conception stage. You have to start thinking about it right from the beginning and not after it is launched.
exactly.
So it's not so that's why it's very hard for ethics team to work inside a technological sector, because they will not be included at the very beginning, because then they feel like, oh, you are a pain in the neck.
Yeah, it should be an ecosystem of everything we do, right? We go back to Priya, right? User experience, the user journey, it is the full picture. Everyone have to step back and look at the big picture of what is that we're working with and solve it from the, bottom up, top down, all around. We are the global organization, a human in the whole. We just like doctor, you don't have doctor to treat your eyes where the symptom is somewhere else, right? I have allergies, not because something wrong with my eyes. My whole system rejecting to the pollen right now. I'm using a real example for usually dumbed down to very simple things. If you're talking about data that are not clean, if you know how to do laundry, you will never put the wrong white clothes in the color and put bleach in there, right? So that basic principle help us move forward technically and ethically the right way.
Yeah, that's very
Yes,
true.
Sudha.
That is very beautiful. I want to share one resource. Susanna was talking about equity. So I'm just going to share my screen. So this is my site, Business School of AI. Here you click on Women's Planning. So IoT Day videos from the past are also here. Forget that. Go to International Women's Day, IWD, and that's where Susanna got in talking to us about women's planning, right? So each of these topics has women's planning done by several women, which is basically explaining a topic that they work on very intelligently. So I'm not going to have time to show all of it. So I'm going to just show this so that you can, go play. Each of these will tell you what is what. And there's a very good video about what is equity, which is the only one I want to show.
Hi, I'm Salwa Noor Mohammed, the founder and CEO of FortBrain, which is an AI ML education company. We think about ethics and how to mitigate bias within AI, which is an emerging field, quite a bit. So I wanted to take this opportunity to address the difference between equality and equity. The way it was explained to me, which really resonated, is that if equality is the goal, then equity is means or a pathway to achieving that goal. So we want to treat people fairly based on their respective needs, and that might mean different things for different people. As an example, when we give out tuition grants, if we give out the same amount to people from different socioeconomic backgrounds, we can't expect them to be able to afford the same education program. So grants are often need-based, or financial aid is need-based to counteract that. To provide a more stark example, we need lactation rooms in workplaces. And if we've never had that because the workplace was only men or did not include parents who are breastfeeding, then saying that that's how it's always been doesn't actually help because we're not creating an inclusive environment. To be able to really create an all-inclusive and equal environment for all, we have to be able to have real empathy, which is put ourselves in someone else's shoes whose circumstances might be inherently different from ours, and also do a great deal of listening. So I hope we can kind of take this lesson so the next time someone is impacted or affected by your actions or words, let's say a female colleague or a friend or a peer, we don't brush it off by saying that that's just how we treat all males or peers. And this is something that we kind of keep in our collective consciousness as we go about creating an equitable environment for everybody.
Okay, so I thought that was one of the best explanation for equity. And then before we wrap up this panel, because we have our next speaker, Irene, who's here, and I want to make sure that we give her all the time promised to her because she's written a book on the topic and she can take the rest of the 3 hours also. AI ethicist is like a whole new evolving field. And somehow, like Susanna, there are many AI ethicists who are women. And they are self-organizing and changing the world. So I wanted to show you a resource. If you want to, you feel inspired and say, where are these AI ethics ethicists? What are they working on? Women in AI Ethics is the name of the site. So it's Women in AI Ethics directory. And in here, you can actually say, I want to find people who work only on digital and privacy safety, or people who work on fairness. You can, or sustainability, or you say, I want to find people who are in Africa. Here is Aishatu here, or you can say, I want to find people who are working in India, people who are in UK. So you can actually find every one of them. It's beautifully done. And if you are working in that space, you should get yourself added or nominate a friend if they're already in here. So I find that very inspiring to, go find these women and then follow them on LinkedIn and see what they're doing and all that stuff. So what we've been talking here about how we should help each other, and women naturally as leaders, support and bring others up. And there was a discussion this morning about how we need to share what is our truth, our purpose, what you're working on. These women are doing an amazing job. I thought the AI ethics panel would not be complete without that. So with that, I want to wrap up this panel and I want to bring Irene here. Where is Irene? I just saw her.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Sudha. How are you?
Let me find you here in this, only then I can bring you. Yes, I see you. Okay. So thank you for joining us. AI product management has been a topic dear to me because I teach product managers and I teach AI. I teach a product and business manager. I teach all aspects of AI. And they've always been wanting a secret sauce. What is the exact steps and stuff? And I loved your book. Thank you for inviting me to write a quote about it. You feel free to show your book, give the URL, or we can go share that in the LinkedIn. This is being streamed on LinkedIn and on YouTube. And so feel free to come and add comments, or people might follow you and come and ask questions. So I would urge you to follow and check that also. So without wasting any time, I'm just going to remove myself from the scene and you can just take it away. Thank you, Irene.
Thank you so much. And feel free to share with me if you want, give me share access if you want me to present the slides. Otherwise, I'm happy to just talk. And with that, yeah, thank you, everyone. I did post a link to my LinkedIn along with a link to the Amazon, along with an Amazon link for the book. So feel free to check those out. Those are in the chat. And Sudha, I'll make sure you have those links as well if you do want to share anything out. Yeah, so yeah, awesome. I can share now. So yeah, I actually love that I came in at the end of that ethics call, because this is something that is really important in terms of how we conceptualize building products. And I forget who made that point, but yeah, it does seem a lot like this is an afterthought, or this is something in general, there might be like an ethics officer that a company hires. We see that happen, like, let's say with DE&I initiatives, right? Where they will hire individual people and say, okay, this is that person's job now. And it sort of takes away the onus of like, no, we're an organization, right? We're not building products in a vacuum. We're building them, with other people in mind, and particularly with AI products, we're building them with certain kinds of training data, certain kinds of perspectives that are in the room when decisions about product are made. And in the book, I try to talk about like the more technical applied aspects of AI product management, but I talk a lot also about the stakeholder management and all the different teams that are working with you as a product manager or as a product lead. So it's really a collaborative role. And I talk about ethics quite a bit in the book because I want to basically promote this culture of I guess this holistic concept of ethics, because whether we're a small part of creating a product, anyone that is working on building something that will eventually come to market should feel empowered to bring up issues of ethics, because all their contributions actually make the product. It shouldn't just be one person's job to make sure that ethics were considered and we crossed that, box. This is something that should be built into the culture of how we ideate, build MVPs, eventually launch products to the market. Because the reality is that, in a perfect world, we're all proud of our work, right? We actually feel like we're building something that the world needs, that markets need. And we're building products that will ultimately become successful. That is the point of product management. It's you're combining kind of, the technical prowess and abilities with what does the market ultimately want to buy? What does the market want to spend money on? And Sudha, yeah, I love that this is a topic that's so dear to your heart, because it's dear to my heart. I studied economics in school, so I'm always thinking about the market and what is this invisible force that decides how people buy and what they find value in. And I think with AI products, quite right, like ethics should be at the center of the conversation, because I don't know exactly the audience, but if you read books like Weapons of Math Destruction or Invisible Women or Ethical Algorithm, like there are so many books out there that talk about the importance of baking ethics into products and, the kind of downstream effects, right? The general rule is that if you're building something that will later have downstream effects of end users or anyone that comes across your product, then you should be able to explain it or talk through like decisions that were made for that product so that you're minimizing harm and you're minimizing risk to your own company. I'll actually get to the slides, but anyway, that is a big topic of conversation. I love it. And I think it's the right way that we should be building AI products moving forward. All right. This is something that, again, is very dear to my heart, because I think one of the issues with AI right now is, people do talk about the harms and they do talk about the biases and the inequalities that it brings up. I think in the current phase that we're in, yes, it is doing a lot of harm. And if there aren't ethical practices around how we build AI products, they will continue to do harm, because as we know with when you're working in an applied capacity, you know that data deteriorates over time, models deteriorate over time. So you really have to be on top of things if you're building an AI system that is working optimally. And if you're not doing that, it's going to cause harm in ways that are not so obvious. And that's really the inherent danger with AI products. A lot of the harm may not be totally in your face, and you realize it maybe later on when you do a case study. So, I think as we go and as our laws advance, and there are cynics on that side of it that say like, well, our laws will never advance because technology is just moving too fast. And I don't believe that to be true. I think that the more that we bring up issues of data privacy and AI ethics to our like legislative bodies, we're going to see AI being reined in more, because right now it is kind of like the Wild West. So yeah, hopefully brighter days ahead. In the book, basically, I wrote it in 3 sections. And in the first section, I wanted to focus on definitions, because one of the issues right now with AI products is there's very little definition. You know, a company might say, we're an AI company, but at the end of the day, they just might have some rules-based algorithm that's making certain determinations. And no one's, you know, unless there's like some, you know, unless you find like a Reddit thread about it, or like, I don't know, they get some bad press maybe, who's really going to call them out, right? And right now, one of the major topics in the book is kind of this concept of like, yeah, everyone's slapping AI on everything, and you know, VCs, as long as you have like a PhD, an AI PhD, they would give you money without really thinking about like, well, does this company need an AI PhD? Is this AI? What kind of machine learning is it? What kind of deep learning is it? Right? Companies are very shy to actually say what kinds of technology they're using to bolster their products. And of course, another thing I mentioned in the book a lot is also the concept of like, why are you adding AI to your product? Is it actually functionally making your product better? Or yeah, is it kind of just like a cash grab? You know, like, to me, ethics isn't just how are we building this, and you know, what kind of training data are we using, what kind of use cases are we building our products for. It's also like the ethics of like, yeah, why do you even want to introduce this like this technology in the first place? And is it just for the marketing spin or not? And yeah, so yeah, the first section of the book is really just kind of a definition of terms so that we can agree, I and any reader that's reading it, we can agree together on what these things mean. And as the book continues, the second section is about building AI natively, so bringing to market an AI native product that's built with AI in mind from the start. And then the third section of the book is really about how to bolster existing traditional software products with AI features, and kind of where to start and how to sort of navigate that playing field. Yeah, I did have some slides in this about kind of the 4 key areas as ethical principles. I don't know how much of that you covered, and I'm happy to just gloss over it in this one, but I actually take from the European Commission, because you know, here in the US, we are lagging behind on what you know, certain standards are, and I have a lot of resources in the book about this. I did a talk, I guess it was summer 2020, and we had someone that was chief of the AI division of the US Army, and they were talking about kind of the military's definition of AI and what they, you know, deem to be ethical in terms of like how they use them in war. But you know, we don't necessarily have like a standard, the standard, right? And in a lot of ways, I think the EU is actually far more advanced than we are in terms of, you know, they are more advanced as far as data protection laws go, but also in terms of how they kind of standardize and codify things like ethical principles relating to AI, you know, and so I really like, I'll just quickly go over it. I really like their definition here of respect for human autonomy, prevention of harm, fairness, explicability. So, you know, these are things that come up a lot when we have these topics. You know, is this product fair? Is it hurting some people and helping some people? Are people losing their jobs over this, right? Like there needs to be standards for like, if an AI system is capable, let's say, of gauging your work quality as a professional, like we saw that with some case studies that were applied to like teachers in the public school system. Yeah, and if that AI is then able to make you lose your job. Like we see AI being used for, you know, if you commit a crime, to optimize for prison sentences. We see AI being used for when you apply for a job or when you're applying for a mortgage, right? So it's like, if an AI system has the capacity to have this like incredible influence on your life as an autonomous person, as a human being, then there should be certain protections that are put in place to prevent harm. Not all AI is going to be able to do that, right? So agreeing on some of those things is really important. Yeah, like I said, the second section is about the AI native product. And I talk a lot, in this case, I talk a lot about, you know, to me, building AI systems is actually, you're essentially like productizing a service. And that's true to varying degrees, because if you're in B2B, you know, you're going to be even more productizing a service. If you're in B2C, that service, you know, may not need to be so tailored because you're creating one app for all consumers or many consumers. So I talk a lot about like, what does productizing mean? How do you go from creating something that is a service, standardizing that, and then providing an experience that is like a product, right? So there's a lot that needs to happen there on the commercialization side to bring a product to market. You know, I think we talked about this on our last event together. You know, the easy part is like, which model are you going to use? And, you know, maybe cleaning the data. Like the hard part is, you know, everything else, deploying those models, you know, having steady streams of data that are clean, you know, kind of the commercialization work that has to happen with your go-to-market team. Like those are the hard parts about this. You know, creating a really cool product that works really well and you're really proud of like the model itself. You know, that's such a small part of this work. And a lot of people focus on that. So yeah, I did want to have a section about that. And yeah, one of the biggest things too with creating AI products natively is also kind of this issue of like, you know, you have so much more uncertainty. You know, you have issues with scaling those products. You have issues with your profit margins, because like training your models and kind of getting all these like versions of your product that ultimately, you know, lead to the version that you're actually going to market with, like that. All that work is so uncertain. And as a product manager, it's so hard to really be able to communicate that to your leadership and say like, yeah, we, you know, I'm in charge of this roadmap, right? And I'm in charge of like, you know, sort of creating a timeline. But that in and of itself becomes so challenging when you are working with AI products. It's hard to really deliver on, you know, certain timelines or certain, you know, risk factors when you're communicating with your leadership team and things like that. So yeah, the second part of the book is very heavy on kind of the, I guess, the internal politics navigating, and also navigating your market and understanding your customers better. And one thing that came up from our last event as well is kind of the importance of AI ops, AI ML ops, you know, kind of to the point I was making.
Sorry, Irene, I just want to jump in. We have a whole bunch of people who just come for IoT Day once a year, and this is being streamed on YouTube and LinkedIn. So everybody is not familiar about our other event. So you were our speaker at Weekly Wednesday, which is the global speaker series we do here at Business School of AI. That's my student community coming together on Wednesdays at 8 o'clock. So that's what Irene is referring to as the other event. So thank you so much. I would love to hear about this internal politics piece that you were talking about, because that's a very core part of a PM's role, to manage all the different stakeholders. How does it change with AI?
Yeah, thank you. And thanks for making that disclaimer. Yeah, I think with AI, the biggest thing that changes again is like in communicating, like go to market might want to say certain things about your product, but ultimately, you know, it kind of lies with product, like how you're going to communicate, you know, like different companies will have different thresholds for how much of their product they actually want to share about, you know, and it kind of relates to the issue of explainability too. It's like, you might not have the luxury of being able to, you know, be fully transparent with how your product works. But again, you know, if you're in B2B, you're going to have to explain it. if you're in a capacity where you're maybe working with another B2B company and they're going to use your product for their customers, right? Then there's like a trail. And so I think the internal politics with AI, a lot of it is just going to come down to like, okay, what level of performance are we all comfortable with? Marketing, sales, tech, like those three departments might actually conflict with the level of quality, the level of performance that you're all agreeing to go to market with. And then if if you're not happy with the performance and you might not know exactly how long it will take to get to a certain level of performance that you're expecting before you go to market, then that creates a lot of internal conflict for the company.
So can we drill down a little deeper on this? When we say, because you have so much experience, this is like you can do this in your sleep, looks like you can, so I want to pause and go deeper into this performance, because I tell all my students that, here you're building AI, and the big difference between what a data scientist or engineer is looking at and what you're looking at as a product manager is different metrics of how you define success. And for the data scientist, performance is the degree of confidence. And so they will say, this is the recall, this is the percentage confidence with which this AI is performing. So now it's ready for the customer. Now I'm done with training AI. Now let's go send this to the customer. And sales would want to know that whether it really works for this customer or just any customer in our training validation data set.
Yeah.
Right. So that number, whether it is 60% confidence, 80% confidence, or 99.9% confidence, who actually decides that? Is that really a PM's job?
I think it's a PM's job to know, like, here's the threshold for data scientists or machine learning engineers for them to be, happy, I guess.
Yeah.
Marketing might want a lower threshold because, and again, it depends so much on the use case too. Like, if you're creating AI products that are being used in healthcare and they're being used to like try to, find cancer in breast tissue, that's going to be different than creating AI that's, generative and making, generating portraits of you or whatever, right? Like, it's going to depend. And so anyway, I guess the conversation, like I look at it as PM is making sure those conversations are happening. You might not necessarily even be the one to make that determination, right? But you're the one that says, hey, this is what my data scientist thinks, and this is what marketing thinks, and this is what leadership thinks, and we need to agree on which of these we're actually going to pick. Because if as the PM you're tasked with not just the strategy but the execution of how you come to market with a product, then you're the one that actually has to make sure that determination is made. That doesn't mean you have to make the decision. It just means that you're the one that's making sure it is made, because ultimately if it's not, then what are you executing on? Then you're going to have to go right back to the beginning and have another strategic round table with everybody, and no one wants to do that more than however many times, because it's already hard to do.
No, because I do a bunch of case studies in my classes where, some company got sued. And one of my favorite examples is the Uber driver sued Uber because it didn't recognize them. And the driver app basically thought that the person was giving their phone away to somebody else and booted them out of the system because somebody hard-coded that 3 failures, login failures, incorrect logins means that person was sharing their account, which was a violation. And so when I walk my class through this, imagine if we do like a bunch of role play, right? So I say, imagine you are in PR and you heard this. And so in that case, PR would not want a low performance threshold. PR would say, are we at fault here? Am I doing damage control or am I defending us? And then it goes back into the company and it cascades across the company. And who knows what was the performance at which we released this out to the world? And it'll come back to the PM, right? It will come back to the PM at least to figure out what was that. So the smarter PMs who are working in AI product management these days would proactively set the threshold, right? So are you seeing that in your work, in your research? Is that discussion happening proactively more often, led by the PM?
It's hard to say. I just know from my personal conversations about it, I've worked in B2B for the most part, and we have talked about it proactively because the use cases are so sensitive. And again, when you're working with B2B companies that will later have to defend basically your product, that's part of it. We would have trial periods where we would test our models, and then evaluate that performance with our customers. So for us, it was like a really big conversation. Like I said, for maybe for certain B2C apps or other kinds of domains, maybe that's not the case. But I would say it's the best practice to do that. If companies or PMs aren't doing that or aren't prioritizing those conversations, then I bring it back to like, well, why are you doing AI then? Because part of it is like, yeah, if I have a product and I want it to be an AI product, right? I need to know that a certain new kind of performance is possible just because I'm adding
Can we
AI.
stop the share? Sorry, can we see your face? You're saying some amazing, brilliant things. I want to see your face. Yes, thank you. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh my God, what did I just say? I don't even remember. No, but that's the thing. It's
Why are you even building an AI product if you're
right? Yeah. Thank you. It's again, it comes back to, look, this is a competitive landscape. AI is a competitive technology. It's a competitive emerging technology. And this is well studied. World Economic Forum has all these reports about it. I have a whole section in the book just about the research of, areas of AI that are getting the most kind of press and what is the research saying. And, even geopolitically, like China wants to be the AI expert by 2030. That's a company-wide a countrywide mandate. So, this is an area that it's not just, is my company going to perform better, but it relates to the economics of countries. It relates, so it makes sense that marketing departments want to have the splash, and companies are just like automatically like, okay, we're an AI company now. How do we make it happen, right? And there is that knee-jerk reaction to it. Like, that makes sense. This is a big this is an industrial revolution, right? So it's impacting all industries at the same time. I just want companies to be mindful about it and to have these conversations like, what threshold do we want to go to market with is a really big one, because again, you're going to have to be defending those decisions downstream, and you don't want to be that person that's like publicly saying to people, we didn't have that conversation. We thought we were happy with this, and we didn't actually communicate the risks to our leadership or to whoever, and then that's just an awkward conversation, because in my opinion, that is a core function of your role as a PM. So
is this a conversation people have when they do a buy versus build decision? So in the same Uber Microsoft example, finally Microsoft pulled out that product and said they are not going to sell that to other B2B customers because they figured out that a lot of them were calling out on their performance and pointing at them. So when you are a PM and you say, I could build this, but I could buy this other API from somebody else, because there's an upstream API, that's how the whole AI pipeline happens, right?
Yeah.
Is that conversation happening at that stage, the performance and threshold for that?
How can it, right? Because if you're having a buy versus build conversation, then you don't really have performance metrics to even use to quantify that decision, because you don't get that until after you've trained these models, deployed them, start testing them. So I don't know, it's hard to say that.
Because the vendor would come with claims of this will work for 90% or 99% or whatever number, right? The vendor would claim that it works for a certain performance threshold. Then you have to test it for your data set, model it, and make it work for whatever you said is acceptable.
Yeah.
And I see a lot of them are doing it at pilot stage, and then when they scale the pilot, they're not really focused on the performance metrics, which they should.
Yeah, I find that really surprising, honestly, because one thing I talk about in the book too is kind of like, for the AI products that I've supported, like in some cases we have different versions of those products that we are deploying for certain verticals. So I'm surprised to hear that. But I haven't worked everywhere, so.
Even I've not worked everywhere. I have students everywhere, and we're talking about this.
But again, I think it also just speaks to like, what level of intimacy do you have with your product, and what level of intimacy do you have with your market? I think a lot of people come into PM, let's say from devs, which I think is like a natural course. It's like you're already so familiar with the tech side of it, and now you're kind of put in this business role. But like, as its core function, I think PM is a commercial role. Like, yeah, you're heavily invested in like, what are you building and scoping out, the work and kind of the project management of it all. But it is a commercial role. You want your product to be successful. You want your users to be happy with its usability and the experience. And you're part of the go-to-market team. Like it's not the other part of the business that cares about it. Like you care about it. You should be the expert in your market where your product is playing in. You should understand what kinds of conversations are coming up about your product, about AI being built into like that part of your domain. You're going to have competitors that have AI products. If you don't have them now, you're going to have them in 2 or 3 years. So, and if you don't have them now, this is a great opportunity for you to start and build some of that thought leadership in your industry. Because again, this is a wave that's impacting everybody. So if your company's not taking it seriously and you're not, I talk a lot in the book about like being a good steward for your product. And I see it that way wholeheartedly. I think as a PM, I always joke that like, I'm not really doing anything. Like I'm not making anything. Like I'm just making sure other people are making stuff. And I don't want to minimize the work I do. I think it's like a really great role. I love it so much, but I am dependent on everybody else doing their work and doing like their part of this like massive undertaking. And I think like you don't really have the luxury of being like, oh, this part of this part of it we're going to save for someone else, or we're going to save for later, because that's just going to inhibit your credibility, and it's going to prevent you from being like a thought leader in your fields. Like, why not? The time is now. Like,
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I like the word stewardship, because again, like it's not, you're not like the king of the world, right? Like you're a steward. You're making sure that something is happening, and you're kind of watching over that process. So whether it's conversations with go-to-market, or conversations with your leadership team, or conversations with your technical resources, like you're kind of the one that's like the guardian of it all. You're making sure that everyone's kind of doing things the right way and having the right conversations, and it's something you're watching over. It's like a garden you're cultivating over time. It's not, and I don't want to say that to like scare people, because like I think PM is like actually a very freeing role, like because you're not the one getting really kind of zeroed in and kind of in the trenches of building and making making every single piece of collateral that's going out. Like you're kind of watching it all unfold at the same time. So it gives you this like wonderful perspective, and you're free to bring up to your company, like, what areas of this might cause us the most harm or risk, and by extension, me and my product, right? Like, there's a semblance of like, this is an ecosystem I'm taking care of.
This is beautiful. I mean, every time I meet you, I just feel like I could have another hour of conversation with you. So I will follow.
Are we at time? Is that your way of telling me we're at time?
We are out of time, but that's not why I'm saying this.
Thank you so much.
No, I'm been asked to also manage time. So that means I can't ask too many questions.
I get that. Yeah. Thank you so much. I feel like I was speed talking, but thank you.
No,
all.
you were. It was amazing. It was amazing because I got to hear you one round and then you answered some of my questions. I still have more. I want to follow up, but this is fantastic. Beautiful, Irene. I'm so happy.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much. So we are going to switch to the IoT panel with Sneha Jadhav. You remember Sneha Jadhav? She was interviewing you last time, I think, at the
yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Weekly Wednesday. She hosts Weekly Wednesday. And so let me wrap up. Thank you so much. And feel free to come and add comments. I added comments on the LinkedIn thread with your book. I added some things, but I'm definitely going to follow up. I think you should come and talk to my class.
I would love that. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Okay, bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah.
Nice to hear you again, Irene.
You too.
Okay, I'm going to bring our resident IoT expert. Where is she?
I brought her up already.
Yes. Okay, you can take it away. So let's do an IoT panel, and Sneha Jadhav is our IoT product manager. She's also a host of Weekly Wednesday these days. So that's awesome.
Hi, everyone. Hi,
Okay,
everyone.
why don't you guys just take it away?
Sure. Let me, maybe Sudha, I'm going to acknowledge Rob Van Kennenberg here. He's the founder of the IoT Day, the global movement. That's why, we are here today, and he has been so supportive of our group, right? Yes. Sudha, you want to say something about that before I take it on?
Rob actually started something called IoT Council, which is like a global group of IoT practitioners, IoT enthusiasts, IoT policy leaders, people who work in IoT in every dimension, but want it to be something bigger than just become a commercial product for one company. There are people who work in companies, but he was thinking about the bigger human implications of data from IoT, and then the AI and the policy implication, all the different dimensions of it. And he's been running that for a long time. So I've been lucky to be part of IoT Council, and I made so many friends, and they keep me humble. So let me say that. So he started out IoT Day and picked this April 9th. And he was there talking to Sneha a couple of weeks back
Yes,
about his journey. And
it was an exciting
random picked April 9th. And so we are sticking with April 9th, and I have this April 9th. I drove back yesterday from LA because I wanted to be here on April 9th. And we have people who are coming from Easter, rushing back from lunch and church to be here, and, Passover. And I still think this is true. This year, it is also Ramadan month, and we had a lot of people who were also coming from there. So Rob, you've created something that we can't ignore. So thank you for that. I appreciate that. And I love the thing about IoT Day. The way Rob does is, he said, you can run an event, you can host a coffee show, or you can just go have a coffee with a friend and just discuss about IoT. And so it was very open-ended, and that's kind of his approach. And we ran with it. I initially did that as regular IoT Day with everybody to get a feel for what's happening around the globe. And then I switched to this whole IoT women thing when I found that we need to have an all-women event for 24 hours, nothing more, nothing less. So thank you, Rob, for doing this and for your inspiration and for continuing with that. We appreciate that. So back to you, Roxy.
Thanks so much, Sudha. I think you should be on this panel as well, because you have 2 books on IoT Day, and that's between me and Sudha. We don't
actually have 3 books on IoT.
Yeah,
I have 3 books on IoT, 2 on autonomous vehicles.
Yes,
2 on AI.
So I'm adding you to the panel because you and I, we don't follow script that well, and we actually run many marathons of events.
But Sneha is very good. So let me.
Yes,
I'll take myself out, but I will jump in if I can really add anything, because I want to.
Sure. I'm gonna have
Sneha is one of those people who will be quiet, and then you start asking her about IoT, and then she just.
Yes.
And you are this IoT data queen. So I want to learn from you guys. So I'm going to listen in.
All right. Let me have Sneha. Why don't you have your introduction so that we actually hear from you and know what you have done.
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. I'm Sneha Jadhav. Some of you know me as the host for the Weekly Wednesdays, starting I think I restarted this year. I did it 2 years back, and then I came back again this year. And I'm absolutely excited about it. It's amazing how much I learn from different speakers that Sudha brings in. And it's just amazing to just learn from them. So that's an exciting session that we have every Wednesday. I have to plug it in. Anyway, so I'm Sneha Jadhav. I'm a product manager right now working for Rockwell. But before that, I have worked at Cummins. I've worked at a couple of mid-stage startups, View, Treasure Data through Arm, and right now Rockwell, all in the space for IoT, IIoT data, real-time data streaming products. So that's my background. Right now, I am the product manager on the edge platform for Rockwell. And I think I have been passionate about IoT because I learned product management through IoT products. I learned, and it's very different space to do product management because usually either you are doing hardware product management or you're doing software product management. But when you are an IoT product manager, you have to work with the timelines of IoT of the hardware, and then the discipline of the hardware, and then the quick nature of the software. And somewhere you are stuck in between, working through the stakeholders and managing expectations on both sides. It is exciting and tiring at the same time, but I love it. But thank you so much. So that's me, Sneha. Nice to meet you all if you have not seen me before.
Yeah, I love that you actually said when you're in IoT space, product manager, same like technologists, right? You have to deal with all layers. You have the smart application layer, right? And then you have the processing information layer, and then you have the data to information layer, and then you have the data gathering services layer, right? And with that, you have to, not only that, you have to deal with cross-functional, right? Because all the supply chain of the hardware, how it built, when it built, when you deal with edge, now you can't avoid AI on the edge. So with just a quick introduction for myself is before I'm currently working for F5 is the cybersecurity company global. And not only that, we actually deliver app from anywhere, anytime. So it ties so closely with what I work with before as a chief technology officer for IoT Labs. But anyway, with that, I dealt with multiple layers from the technical perspective. We work closely with product manager. So from your view, with the AI, I'm usually have a hard time staying with the past, right? Now with all the AI and generative like stuff, so I hope we can play role solving something that current, not just the past, right?
Yeah.
So what have you seen that generative AI or any kind of AI that you use at the edge that you want to share with the world here, so we actually can use that as a springboard to make things better for the people?
I think the amount of data and the number of use cases are increasing at the edge, either to monitor the performance of the equipment, the performance of, or even just general monitoring when you talk about your the ring camera or something, right? As the use cases are getting closer to the device, closer to the edge device, the need for deploying your smartness closer to the device is going up, right? It could be because we need a quick response. We don't want to send all the data up in the cloud and then the model to run and send the result back down. That's just too much time. Or even data, right? It's sending pictures or videos up to the cloud. That's costing. That requires a lot of cost. It takes up a lot of resources. As that's going up, the need to deploy your AI models closer to your device is going up, right? And then there's technology, and once there's need, there's technology, and there's already so much technology from the hyperscalers like Azure, AWS. They all have technology that supports this. I think the need now is to do it more efficiently, to manage it more efficiently, because the moment you give this capability to your engineers, everyone wants to do it, right? Everyone's saying, hey, I have this cool model. This would be excellent. I want to have this model running close to the edge. So then the question is, how do you manage it? How do you say which one's more running more efficiently? Is it even useful? How do you get into that CI/CD pipeline closer to that part where you can say, hey, I can effectively make changes. I can effectively pull out things that don't make sense anymore. And instead of making it a whole deployment process, right? And making both your business stakeholders comfortable along with your technology. And I'm going to call out security separately because they are extremely concerned about this, right? So
security should be in every single thing that we do,
yes,
right?
yes,
And
that
if you
is
don't
true.
think earlier on, there's
Yeah, but
a drawback for that.
right, but whenever there's a data that moves from one area to the other or one network to the other, the security, their ears go up. They're like, "What do you mean?" which is right, and we want that. But the idea is that the point is that as the need is increasing, more and more ways to do to run your inferences close to the edge is going up, and then the space that I didn't touch on AI ops and ML ops is I think now gaining more relevance, right?
Yeah. So for again back to the security, for me, since I joined F5, before that, we always deal with all layers, and their security, we always learn that we should have it at the beginning, like just like ethic, just like responsible AI. Security is the thing that you have to think about all the way since the beginning as you build, right? And compliance and everything else. So at the edge, from your experience, as you work with a different cross-functional team, just like Irene talking about, what is the strategy that you use when you actually have a group that only deal with the edge? How much you deal with the partner to work on the edge? Is Rockwell actually build your own hardware and actually implement the edge? And was that part of your responsibility? Are there any insight you can share there?
So no. So I think the hardware is different from the cloud software, right? And in most parts, even in my previous job at Cummins, the hardware was built by a different team because they are different set of experts. You need different skills for that. They have their own timeline, right? It's not as their release cycles are not as fast as software release cycles. So they have a whole cycle. So usually you're just interfacing as a PM. You're interfacing with them to say, hey, by the way, these are our use cases that we need to fulfill. Do you have requirements from your system perspective fulfilling these use cases? Maybe whether it's memory, whether it's something as like memory or your CPU utilization. You talk about the ports that you would be needing to access or not access. The biggest thing that's coming up is the TPM module, or even or not having the TPM module when it comes to certain countries, right? But I think as a PM, you're mainly saying, how are you fulfilling that whole use case as a whole, and then interfacing with the right teams. And in some cases, you're not even building the apps. You're just giving a platform for the apps to come in and host themselves, right? If you will. So in all of these cases, you're thinking about your end-to-end use case to say, hey, how am I fulfilling these use cases? Who are the stakeholders, and how can we get them to align on the requirements, and most importantly, the timelines, right? That goes on. That's so usually that's how it would be. I have never seen a role, a PM, software PM in IoT space also handling hardware. It becomes rightly so. It becomes really difficult from skills and from time perspective.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is very interesting. Because from the IoT space that I was in before is the end-to-end platform that we build, and so working with the partner, make sure they actually have the protocol that we can use and the hardware that can support. It is a bigger picture that like I had to deal with, and so describe one of the use case that you're actually passionate about in your space, and share how. If you are use AI, how is that help you? with that?
Yeah, I think before that, I do want to touch base on the last point that you mentioned. I think as a PM, yes, you're right. We have, if there are data sources they're coming. So at Cummins, we had data coming from engines, right? So you needed to have a specific bandwidth on the engine control unit, because monitoring is not an essential function of any engine, right? It's not like it's like a second, so third party, third reference for in priority of what an engine does, sending data for monitoring. So yes, you have to work very closely with your hardware partners or your hardware technology partners to say, hey, that I need data on through this protocol at this time interval. How can we fulfill it? So yes, absolutely working with it, but we cannot own each of it. They can say no, or they can say yes, but or they can say sure in another 18 months.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, it's a different. As the company get bigger and more partners, like hardware partner, you have to deal with, depend on the size of the hardware also, right?
Yes.
And then the timeline can be bigger. But like you touch on point where you're talking about protocol, just like before, you have MQTT. Now you have to use secure MQTT or some others faster way. There are always faster way to communicate, like the data distribution service. Do you guys use do you and the guy and your folks in your company actually touch on that point, using different protocol, how they work with AIs and things like that? Do you deal at that layer, the session layer?
We are the customers at that layer. We don't work at that layer, but there are specific teams, like I said, very specific skilled teams that work at that layer. They cater to, we become their customers, and then they would help us. We would look to them to say, hey, how do we get this data? And they are the ones that build that layer, because like I think that it's important to have generalization and overall security that needs to be maintained, as opposed to an application-based approach, right? So, so we are customers for that layer to get that.
Okay.
If you will.
Yeah, this is like where we're talking about the multiple layers that made up the IoT space, right? I'm trying to sense and see what layer you're actually working with and dealing with. So share with me your excited project or use case that you work on that also use AI and touch, leveraging AI for the IoT space.
I think the reason I say it's exciting, it's mostly because we don't have all answers. So I think and we have answers in some cases, right? So, but it is trying to understand how can we looking at, so right now you have ML models, right? Anywhere else, right? You deploy ML models, you train them in cloud, you deploy them, it runs inferences, and there are use cases where you can deploy models, retrain them on the devices, right? And I think that's something that's very exciting for me personally, because personally I'm trying to learn more about that. And it's just, I think the more you look into it, the more you're blown away, because you're like, oh my God, there are so many use cases, there's so much need here. And then try to understand the technology, and then you're like, there are even more options. And how do you make this work in a scalable way? How do you adopt it in a way that is more scalable, more repeatable, while maintaining your IP, while maintaining your model and your IP? I think that's the reason it's exciting, is because we have solutions, but we need to expand them, and we need to scale them. And I think because there's a question mark there, it's more exciting for me.
Having the right question will solve the right problem, right?
Yes.
That's so important, and PM are wonderful at that. So have you seen any practically cell adapting, cell healing? When we start with all the IoT space, we have a lot of that concept, right? At the beginning, 2015, 16. Have you seen more of that adaptability from the use cases that you work on?
Yeah,
so because now we have much better AI ML.
Yes, I think I mean, I think your biggest validation is when your customer asks for it, right? And customers' maturity is at different levels, but there is interest, there is need, right? And they say, "Oh, can we do this?" I think already everyone's starting to say, "How can we use generative AI? Can ChatGPT help here?" I think that's a good. I'm a very big fan of ChatGPT because it's kind of catapulted us into this session, like just how what lockdown did for remote work in areas that does not have internet connectivity so well, right? In countries where there was not enough good or just not good investment in internet connectivity, just because of lockdown, it kind of made a very big difference for them because now it became a necessity overnight, and then the right resources had to invest in infrastructure to get the internet connectivity to a level where people can work remotely, right? This happened in India. This happened in other countries, I'm sure. So what lockdown did for internet connectivity in countries like this, I do believe that ChatGPT did that for adoption of IoT and at an advanced level, or even if you don't want to call it IoT, right? AI. I think that's what it is. And as much as we don't know about it, I think that's a good thing. If there are questions but no answers, I think that's still a good thing. I definitely have more questions than I can find answers for. And I use ChatGPT. I mean, I don't know if you've used ChatGPT intensively, but I try to use ChatGPT and ask all different kind of questions to it in my personal time. But I do feel I really feel that it is catapulted the discussion forward. Yes, there are a lot of questions around ethics, around how can we use, whose jobs are going to take over, which is again a question. But I do feel that the conversation has shifted.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I totally agree. And there's so many things that we think about, like the IoT. The special thing about IoT is the massive amount of data, right? Telemetry data, how you train. ChatGPT is is a longer conversation that we should have. Maybe Sudha can have a different session there. Yes. But practically their issue with hallucination for ChatGPT, for thing it doesn't know. So you have to have expert in the field. Let's say, like even a 5, right? So you have people that are expert in networking and see what ChatGPT generated and make sure it's the right thing. Or and their privacy, security concern, proprietary data, we are not yet actually explore all of that at this point, right?
Right.
Anyway, I don't know, Sudha, how are we doing on time? I think we take up all the time, right? Do you have any questions? You're on mute. You are on mute right now.
Both of you were so passionate about IoT, just like it was such a treat for me to listen in. And then when you came towards ChatGPT and NLP hallucination, like, oh my God, that is in my new turf. And so I think we should wrap up. My plan is we have 4 different sessions that happened and we showed them on online. And 2 of them have amazing message for women, especially like in line with what we did the first discussion. Mm-hmm. And one of them is about deep learning. So it's like a tech topic. And Leah had spoken about prompt engineering. So I want to show her demo where she actually explains, does a prompt, and then shows the Midjourney one that she was talking. So 4 videos, we're going to shoot like 10 minutes. So we have time. So if you guys want to go for another 5 more minutes and wrap up, that would be good.
I think that Sneha can share her. Thank you so much, Sudha. And we can give Sneha a time to wrap up and maybe have call for action for people in the IoT field, right? How can we leverage all the wonderful things that just happening the last month or so with the movement out there? And how do people combine their skill to bring their product to the next level, right? Like, again, I'm talking about not having silo in anything that we do. It's so important. And IoT is a very, very special space where you cannot work on IoT alone. You touch every single things in the company supply chain, from software development to hardware, if you're going to bring anything related to IoT into your company, right? Or serving your customer. So you can do the honor, do a great job for you.
So absolutely. Thank you so much, Roxy. And it was, thank you so much for leading the session. It was really exciting. I think I am a student. I don't call myself an expert as much, but I'm a student, and I learned through my different roles and through different applications while speaking, like speaking with customers. I think, like you said, it's not just one field, right? As in, when you're in IoT, you're touching data, you're touching AI. AI being more now. It's more like first when I was working with. When I did my first role in IoT, I was using products to enable bringing in data. Right now, your data is sure. It's you have it. It's you don't. It's supposed to be there. Now we're trying to say how can we get data to enable AI, right? Or make it much easier to even run models, right? So you're always enabling something. So it's not one space; it's multiple spaces. I think as a call for action, I think it's just to. I think the word IoT has been beaten to death a lot, but it means so many things. And I think I think my call to action would be just for other students like me or other professionals like me would be to be on the lookout, right? Like to say, okay, how can we expand both in the stack downwards, like to get the data, but also what else can we enable? What else can we help? What use cases can be delivered through, right? Right. First, I started with services. Then I moved into retail. Then I moved into now industrial IoT space. So I think there are just a wide variety of use cases out there. The question is, what are we enabling? And I think we should keep asking ourselves that question. I keep asking myself like, what are we really enabling with all the cool technology that we have? So yeah, thank you so much, though. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. To wrap it up, I'll be the tech person here to wrap it up from my. I think it's the same, will not change much, but practically for IoT, architecturally, it's got to be hybrid. You need to be able to support different manufacturers, products, connectors, all the edges, the devices, all the APIs, right? If you do API first, think about the same, what you call, the same mentality when you build something. You need to be extendable. Therefore, it need to be secure, scalable, and nothing better than having an IoT system actually can self-adapt and self-healing themselves, right? We can self-configure with AI technology nowadays. So I think with that, I learned a lot when I actually joined F5 in how to deal with security and how leveraging security technologies available to really make it a safer digital world for all of us. And it boosts my IoT experience and make me a lot more interested in really the workload of the different layers in the networking and why actually empower us to do even more. Anyhow, with that, back to you, Sudha, or me, to kick off the next session. Thank you so much, Sneha, for being
Thank you so much.
part of this.
I just love Sneha's passion. It's just unbelievable. Thank you so much. And she calls herself a learner. She's amazing. She in this bit.ly/IoT Women, we have all the past years recordings, and the live stream link that I've been sharing, people can come and watch. LinkedIn allows us to keep the live recording straight in that same place, so people can come back in and watch it also. But if you go to bit.ly/IoT Woman, MAN, then you will see this year's recorded sessions, morning session, this one, all of them. Plus, you will also see last year's sessions. Parya does a nice job of organizing all that, so you can see everything in one place if you want. I believe it's not last year, maybe last to last year, Sneha Jadhav did a session in IoT Day Women on IoT product management. What does that mean? And she did a whole session on that. So I'm very happy when I see people of what they were presenting, how they're thinking about it. And now she's hosting Weekly Wednesday, and it's just amazing. There was one topic that you and Sneha were talking about, ChatGPT. So ChatGPT is an intelligent application that is built on top of all these generative AI foundation models. And so ChatGPT is the one that took off. So initially, OpenAI, I remember sitting in a panel with somebody from OpenAI saying, yeah, ChatGPT, but what we have is the API. Look at our APIs and build on our APIs. And they were talking to developers. And then they figured out, no, people love ChatGPT. We cannot just let it stay and go off and run with our APIs. And so they created this GPT 3.5 Turbo, and they allowed people to integrate into ChatGPT directly, and they integrated some Microsoft APIs and stuff. So there are various different layers with which you can build. In fact, in my book, one of the hardest thing I've done is to build out what is the tech stack look like for generative AI? What are the different components of it from various different companies? And I'm not talking brands, I'm talking about technology components of it. So you can decide where to build. So why I'm saying that, because you were talking about ChatGPT in context of IoT. So how is it tied to IoT? The past way of building interface to IoT was to build out a whole application. IoT creates data, and you want to run analytics on the data, but it draws insights. Now it is doing something useful for different stakeholders, and you build applications on it. And so now this whole generative AI is allowing to build intelligent applications, which is very human-centered, which is very customer-centric. And so there's an evolving new field called Industry 5.0, where it's industrial devices, but imagine they're chatting with you, and they understand context, and they're helping you. And so that's where it is going. You could have ChatGPT-like interface to your robot, to your turbine, to your industrial system, instead of, and with data, we had data visualization, so you could have a better version of understanding insights. Now you could have like a human interface talking to that. So that's where I think it kind of makes the connection back with IoT. So just wanted to share that. I actually switched the generative AI topic earlier in the morning when Leah was here, but I wanted to show her demo. So what we have is, we have 4 different, which one do you think we should do? You can pick, Roxy, okay? So I'll tell you what we have. So we have unleashing the potential of AI, a deep dive into deep learning is one topic from Sanju Xavier. Then we have this prompt engineering from Leah. Then we have 2 very women-centric topics, more like morning panels that I want to show again from the 2 recorded sessions.
How long was it?
Each of it won't be go for more for that. So the way I'm thinking is, we will show this, have a discussion, you and me, and then and this will go till 3:30. No, it's 3:40 now, so we'll go till 4:30, and then we'll wrap up.
Sure. I would love to hear all of them, because people put in their time, and we can.
That's right. So given we had like a whole IoT discussion, I would like to do the AI deep dive.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Deep learning. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. So this was done by Sanju Xavier.
I will be discussing about unleashing the potential of AI, a deep dive into deep learning. To introduce a bit about myself, I am Sanju. I'm currently pursuing my PhD at the University of Alberta in Edmonton. As you can see in the pictures, the picture on the left is my recent visit to the beautiful Jasper It's an alpine town in Canada's Alberta province and is a commercial center of Jasper National Park. Right bottom is one of my picture when I recently volunteered for Edmonton International Women Day event. It was hosted by Google Edmonton group in Edmonton. So now let's just see and try to understand the difference between AI, machine learning, and deep learning. So basically, machine learning is a subset of AI, as you know, and it is currently the most promising tool in the AI pool of business. So what machine learning does, it allows a system to learn to recognize patterns on its own and make predictions. On the other hand, deep learning is a subset of machine learning, and deep artificial neural networks, they basically important problems such as image recognition, sound recognition, recommender systems, etc. So deep learning basically uses machine learning technique to solve real world problems by using neural networks that simulate human decision making. So deep learning, on the other hand, could be costly and require huge data sets to train itself. This is because it has a large number of parameters that need to be understood by the learning algorithm. Next, let's understand what is deep learning. So in deep learning, basically we have interconnected layers, basically consisting of neurons that form a neural network. So what is our main idea? The idea is to replicate an abstracted understanding of how we believe the human brain might process similar information and learn from its surroundings and sensory input. So basically the network, it injects various amount of input data, process it through the multiple layers that it has, so that we can learn the complex features of the data at each layer. So let's see an example, as in the figure, a deep learning algorithm could be trained to learn like how a dog could look like. So basically we can assume that in a network, we can make a determination about the data. For example, the photo X is a dog. And we can learn if the determination is correct, that is, the photo X is in fact dog, and use what we have learned to make determinations about the new data. That is, Y equal to dog, but Z is not equal to dog. So that's what we basically do in deep learning. We learn on a large amount of data, then later on we make some predictions on new data. So basically, it might be still confusing. How do machine learning and deep learning vary? So basically, as we have seen earlier, deep learning is a subfield of ML. In that sense, we can say that both ML and deep learning, they share many characteristics, that is including their ability to detect patterns from data and learn how to perform a specific task with improving performance over time, given the specific inputs. But still, let's try to understand a few more differences between them. One is data consumption. That is, deep learning requires a vast number of label samples for it to succeed. A dedicated hardware is the next point. That is, usually we deploy GPUs for running deep learning tasks. And similar is the case of feature extraction. So basically in feature extraction, if you notice, like as seen in the diagram here, in terms of machine learning, like we have an input, we do, the humans do certain sort of feature extraction in order to classify the output, but for example, in this case, whether it's a car or not. Whereas in deep learning, we do not do it manually. In deep learning, we basically have an algorithmic approach, or we can say we have feature extraction plus classification performed by the deep neural network. So in that case, we can say that deep learning does help to reduce a large number of hard coding that humans had to apply in machine learning. That's one difference we can see in this example, especially to classify an output as car or not car. So what are the applications of deep learning? So first, we can say that it can be useful in computer vision. That is, deep learning models can be used in a number of tasks like image classification, object detection, and segmentation. It can be used in natural language processing that is able to understand and generate human language. And this can be used in applications like building applications like chatbots, translation services, sentiment analysis, and so on. Another application of deep learning is in robotics. It can be used in robotics to enable machines to recognize and interact with their environment. And then we have healthcare, that's deep learning can be used to analyze medical images, diagnose diseases, and even develop new drugs. And then another application of deep learning could be in speech recognition, where it can be used to develop personal assistants like Siri, Alexa, and Google Assistant. So now let's try to understand what are the advantages and challenges that we could face. So the initial one, let's go through a few advantages first. First thing is easily identifying the trends and patterns. That is a good advantage of these deep learning models. As we have large amount of data, it's able to extract trends and patterns. And then there's no human intervention needed. It's another advantage as it is automated. And then we have another advantage like continuous improvement. That is, it keeps learning, keeps gaining experience and making better decisions. And then we have handling multidimensional and multi-variety of data. That is, it can handle data that is of multi-dimensional and multi-variety, and it can do it in different environments. Other than that, distribution of variety of applications that we saw earlier. And what could be the disadvantages of these models? So one is data acquisition. That is, these models require massive data. That is, you have to use a massive, large amount of data in order to get a good quality of inference. And then the next disadvantage could be time and resources. We need a lot of time to train. We need more sophisticated environments like GPUs and other higher configuration devices to run our models. And then we have interpretation of results is another challenge. That is, there could be times when it's not easy to infer data and make some inferences. And then another most common disadvantage is high error susceptibility. That is always prone. That is, whatever deep learning algorithms that you work on is always prone to errors. So that is especially if you train a program on a small amount of data, it's more prone to errors, or it's more biased, that it may not give you the correct results all the time.
Okay, so I'm going to stop here. Thank you, Sanju Xavier, for that beautiful presentation. Let me come back on camera.
Yes, Sudha. So I think this is a very good overview of the deep learning. And one thing I think that I hope to be human, the power of human and machine. I think deep learning is they call deep learning for a reason, right? You dive deep in a sense areas, right? For human is the power of correlate all the areas together, right? So then we become a superhuman, right? So for the audience benefit, and I know you know this, so can you share with us the difference between the deep learning and generative AIs? Because you write a book about it.
Yes, I did write the book about generative AI. So this is a very common question because I think it's a common question that comes to people's mind. Everybody has not asked that yet. You're the first one asking me that. So two things. Sanju talked about machine learning and then deep learning as a subset of machine learning. So one is the way machine learning and deep learning was done and is still done is by training data, and you give training data and then the AI learns from it. So when the AI is making a prediction, it is looking back into its memory and picking something that's in your historic data. it is not going to generate new content. It's not going to extrapolate and do anything else. The thing with generative AI, it is not picking back it from its memory, but it's generating new content. It absorbed the learning. So when she showed the neural network of how the human brain works, and there are neurons, that's what it does in its training in generative AI. It has a huge volume of data, that is the entire internet, or huge volume of every possible image from stock photos that has been trained, and it's in memory. But it is not just keeping the data in its memory, it is keeping patterns. And because all these models are based on transformer models, it says, okay, this word is connected to these other words, or this word has a higher probability of coming in combination with this other word. So it creates like multiple neurons of relationship of words to other words. That's how it's understood language. So there is deep learning done in the foundation model that trains the generative AI. But the next step, when we actually interact with the generative AI, it has got a version of supervised learning or machine learning done with a small set of data. And says, now I want you to build a chatbot that will do customer service for my customers for telecom industry. And here's my data set, which is labeled data set. And that means it's adding constraints and doing feature engineering. And then now it is doing the combination of that deep learning plus this supervised small data set machine learning combined is the semi-supervised learning. That is what generative AI. At the output level, it is generating new content. And is extrapolating from its learning. In generative AI, it's not fetching back from its memory. In terms of the technology foundation, it is combination of deep learning plus a semi-supervised learning. So those are the two differences between the two. There are very few people doing this, and I say this in my book because my book, Generative AI, a primer for product and business managers, is focused on getting you to think how you will apply this in your own industry with your own data set and the like. So a lot of people would think, okay, I have this data set, I can model an existing deep learning model or a machine learning model, and it works in my previous life, right, of doing AI. Now, how do I do that with the new way of doing generative AI? So you are basically doing the second part of it. That's called fine tuning. You're going to take a data set. You need to know why you're picking this data set. You know what the AI should be doing. What is the experience of the AI? What is the constraints you're creating for the AI? Based on that, you give a small data set, and then you train the model. So that's how you kind of combine the two. So.
Mm-hmm. And that's why they actually call those, just like words in English, right? It's split out to token, and then you have pattern come out as token. That's how they charge you.
That's right.
Charge you by the token, and then define the path.
Think of tokens like 4 characters. Tokens is not a word per se, but it's a piece of a word.
Yeah, so or phrases. Also depends, right?
Yeah, it depends, right? So it could be like 4 or 5 characters is one token. And then it could eat up your tokens, and it's all charged by the token. And it's not just in training, you modeling it, but also when it runs an inference, it can just eat up a lot of tokens. And then all the current generative models AI models are all charging on tokens. So
yeah, this is where I was talking about when you actually do something, you need to know all the aspects that make up that technology when you bring into a company. It's not just the tool. Text at the beginning, but what you're solving, what question you're trying to answer, and the implication of using the application make a lot of difference.
Yeah. So it goes back to, why are you using this? AI might not even be the answer. I actually start my AI classes saying, don't try to build an AI for the sake of building an AI. AI might not be the answer. It might be simple heuristics, and you can just get a solution for that, right? So
yeah, that's why we good to read your book and then actually follow the book that Irene actually shared with us, right? To do it not just
AI Product Manager's Handbook.
Yeah, AI Product Manager Handbook.
And she has very practical example of actually building. It's little technical, but it gives you the big picture and asks. She has a lot of knowledge baked in the book, so I love it.
Yeah, actually, a judge one competition at the University of Washington, one of the students actually has the what you call the model that he can extract and actually deploy to the customer data based on his training without exposing the data set that he has. So it's a kind of very, very interesting.
Transfer learning.
Yeah.
So the most common example of transfer learning is on our phones, where when you do autocorrect, there's an AI model sitting on our phone on the edge, and it is talking to me and it is doing autocorrect. And then it is learning from me, but it is not sharing my data for my privacy.
Yes.
It is sharing that learning and sending it back to the cloud. And
yeah,
so
extract the especially scrub data, just like the data that we're dealing with before. You scrub it and you get the model.
That's right. So you just get the model and then it combines it. So that's transfer learning. So the transfer learning is a big piece of generative AI. So you just transfer the learning to the next level, or you can just train it on a small set and then you transfer the learning. So that's the big tech behind that. But it also preserves privacy and can also propagate the errors. So one of the things Sanju was saying, but it could be inaccurate and it could be expensive, and all those things comes with
it. Could be lots of could be right now, right? And so go back to the beginning we were talking about, ask many questions, and some people with the right knowledge will answer them, and then it will help us all moving in the right direction.
Yeah.
What next to the video?
Yes, thank you, Sanju. So I was chatting with Pariya. What we are going to do is this recording that you're watching is one long video. What you did in the morning is one long video. Roxy and I have a huge capacity to do live stream and keep talking to you. And we are at 7th hour going live, continuing to be live. We're going to go for 1 more hour. So if you don't have the capacity to watch 8 hours of video, we took like a half hour's lunch break. So 7.5 hours of video, we will split it for you. So what we'll do is at the homepage where you started, right? The bit.ly/IoT Women. You will find all the different recordings. It's also on YouTube. You can go find the playlist for IoT Day 2023, but we're going to put the recorded ones. We are going to put the different streams from morning and evening and all of them on different topics. So you can go find by speaker, by topic, and by time and all that. So all that good stuff. So go back and watch it, draw inspiration, learn the topics. I'm going to do that too. So we have 3 more recordings I want to show. One is from Leah that we heard this morning. And I would like to show a lot of her stuff, right? What she was showing, but I want to show the demo. So she's basically was saying, what is prompt engineering? I'm going to go back to show let me see. I want to show the demo of what she was showing. She has such vibrant colors and what she's doing. So sorry for starting a little abruptly in the middle of a recording. Leah Gianantonio. Is that right? Let me. Okay. This is Leah, and we saw her this morning. She is a prompt engineer, and she came from a language writing. And so she loves this whole evolving field of prompt engineering, and I'm not exaggerating. I mean it genuinely. She's an expert in the field, so follow her. And she does that very intuitively. So in the morning when she was talking to us, she said, it's not a big deal. You don't need to think about different kind of prompts, but there are whole websites on different kinds of prompts and cybersecurity with prompts and how called prompt hacking and a lot of different jargons are in that. But what she does is she talks to the AI with the text prompt to generate images. And she kind of does that very intuitively. And so she says, keep engaging, keep doing that. That's her advice. So I'm going to show her demo.
I've given a basic introduction. I thought it might be helpful if I give a demonstration on prompt engineering. I'm going to switch over to my PowerPoint. Before we begin, I'd like to share with you a few of the pieces that I am most proud of. I am incredibly grateful that AI technology has given me ways to express myself like never before. For years and years, I have had all of these ideas inside of me, and I was unable to share them with the world. And now that I finally can, people actually really like them. It's surreal. I just broke 6,000 followers on Twitter in under 6 months, and it just blows me away that I can reach so many people with my works. I'm beyond honored by some of the comments that I get on my pieces. I love the AI art community, and I'm eager to share some of my prompting techniques with the world. The AI art generator that I use is called Midjourney. Although there is a monthly fee involved, I choose to use Midjourney because it is the best option for me. The consensus in the online AI art community has been that Midjourney is king for some months now, even before the extremely impressive latest update called V5 came out. The photorealism and competence in Midjourney V5 generations is quite arguably completely unmatched. I am blown away time and time again how much a simple prompt can deliver such a stunning output, as you'll see. Unfortunately, due to misuse and misinformation, Midjourney has recently discontinued its free trial. As someone who believes in democratization of resources and accessibility for all, this deeply saddens me. I would one day like to see a world where everyone who wants to try the best AI image generation technology can freely do so, regardless of their income. There are, however, some other popular and still rather powerful image generators that have free options, such as Stable Diffusion or Night Cafe. A lot of my friends on Twitter who successfully sell their AI art use programs like these. So don't feel like you can't benefit from generative AI art technology just because you can't afford the Midjourney monthly subscription. Without further ado, allow me to share with you a little bit of my process. I hope that this can potentially be helpful and inspiring to anyone who might be interested in trying to make AI art. I want to show you guys this first example because it's a perfect example of how such a simple, clever phrase as a prompt can deliver an excellent output. After I posted it, people in my Twitter comments were saying that it could be used as a promotional material for a smoking prevention campaign, and I honestly can't disagree. See, I didn't even prompt for the windpipe to look like a cigarette. The prompt was simply the phrase nicotine lungs. My friend Emma gave me the idea of using it as a prompt in Midjourney. So these are the images that I got, and I could have tried again, but I was actually really happy with the fourth one. So I clicked on the U4 button, which is short for Upscale Image 4, in order to request an enlarged and enhanced version of the generation in the lower right corner. Right away, I was happy with what I got. All that I did before posting this to Twitter was use Photoshop to turn up the saturation a little bit. I chose to include this next example in my demonstrations because it shows how you can prompt AI systems in conjunction to get incredible results. Here, I inputted a text prompt into ChatGPT. I gave it a list of ideas that I've had in the past, and I asked it to generate similar ones. When ChatGPT gave me a result that wasn't what I wanted, I had to amend my prompt by being more specific. Give me phrases instead of a list. After that, ChatGPT had my back. Next, I asked ChatGPT for even more ideas with this prompt. Give me more ideas that are abstract and involve bold, vibrant, and artistic elements. Here's an idea, the endless web of rainbow mirrors. I need more stuff like that. Try for uniqueness. So I really liked one of these phrases, so I just went ahead and got to work with the phrase, a garden of floating luminescent orbs in Midjourney. Here I liked the first image the best out of the 4 that it gave me. I thought it would look even cooler with some extra flair. So I pressed V1, which allowed me to variate the first image by altering the prompt. And I added the descriptors, 1980s computer graphics, vibrant colors. I really liked the first image here, so that's the one I chose to upscale. And then I really liked how it looked again, so I posted it. So I've switched over to Midjourney, and now I want to demonstrate this last prompt for you because it's a great example of an idea that was in my head that I'm only able to communicate to the world so efficiently because of AI. So first I type /imagine because that is the Discord command to get started in Midjourney. And then I'm gonna start typing my prompt out. So I've got point of view POV of a hiker in the middle of a tunnel that is a giant mosaic of stained glass, comma, all of the colors of the rainbow, comma, crystalline, comma, vivid colors, comma, vibrant colors, comma, the light is shining. As the pictures come into view here, I just want to reflect on how descriptive writing ability comes into play while you're crafting prompts. I love the way that creativity and technology are now so intimately and uniquely intertwined. All right, you can see here that the generations have finished. And all right, this is actually really awesome. I think my favorite would be the first one. I really like how the tunnel is like circular and the stained glass is all over. So I'm gonna press upscale and see how it goes. And it looks like that came out really nicely, so I'll be saving that. That was our final example. So thank you for watching and thank you for listening. Also, a big thank you to Sudha for this amazing opportunity. I feel so blessed to be here among so many incredible women. This is such an exciting time to explore the field of AI, and I can't wait to keep creating and learning. Happy IoT Day to everyone watching. I encourage you to embrace your creativity and give prompt engineering and AI image generation a try.
This is so beautiful. This is so beautiful. We saw her, we heard from her live in the morning, and still every time I hear her, I'm learning something. And she makes it look effortless. And I think she's just doing what we've been talking all day, right? Follow your passion and just keep trying. And she's also sharing because she's bursting with passion on this and she wants to put it out. And that's why people are following her on Twitter. That's how I found her. So do you want to add anything? Because we heard about deep learning, we learned about computer vision in the morning, we learned about IoT and data from you and Sneha. We learned a lot on AI ethics. So we are going to close this AI topic. So if you want to say anything,
Sure.
Listen to you.
I love that we closed with the sweet message that Leah actually shared. You know, she's fresh of air in the world of many things, and especially in tech. It brought artists to text in a different ways. So I think there's so much promises and opportunities for us in the future in tech and in our life when we actually have an open mind, just like OpenAI, a generative AI. Keep learning and have your expertise in your area, just like deep learning, right? And don't stay silos, because an ecosystem can only be better if we all together share our knowledge, respect each other, privacy, security, being ethical, and with all our brain together is a powerhouse of a much better world in the future. Do no harm, stick with me quite a long time, that Susanna mentioned, and that keep reminding me of myself to that actually the term for Buddha also, the Buddhism, do no harm, and I think in many other religions, it's not something we talk about religion here, but it is the human side of us that make everything special. Technologies, everything are just tools. We make the world a better place with all our brain together, with good intention, good purpose.
Yep. I actually have a section, a fourth section. So my book is explaining technology, the business side and the product side. And then there's a fourth section on the social side of things. And I mentioned ethics and equity when we talked with Susanna. I have a topic called anthropomorphization, which is how we project our emotions on things like AI or objects, and we treat it like it's human. We want it to succeed. We give it a personality. And so I've written a section about after ChatGPT took off, because it behaves like a human and it talks and it apologizes, is it anthropomorphization? We are looking at AI. That's why when the other camp, which is, oh my God, it's generative AI, it's taking over the world. It's anybody who knows the technology of it knows that it's nowhere near that ever in our lifetime. We can see that. But there is some kind of psychology. I hope people who are psychologists, who are involved on the humanities side, will get involved to do more research about how we are interacting with the AI, how we are projecting our own emotions on the AI, treating it almost like a pet. And then we will not get upset with it. So what you spoke about NLP hallucination at work, right? When you're building AI, you have to see whether it is making a mistake. And even if it's equitable and gives access to somebody who doesn't have access, but it gives them wrong answers, what's the point of helping them, right? So I think that's like a balance. You understand NLP hallucination, you understand the psychology of it, you understand the tech of it, and say, now you fix it. And so that's what I think is very exciting for me. I like complex things and trying to simplify them, demystify them. I don't simplify them, I demystify them and let people figure out how they do that. So this
is where the human matter, right? You have to have the experts, or not expert, but the people that know the area they research. That's why your research is important. Everyone else researches are important, right? And really you can actually check and balance the output. When you have somebody that talking about the next subject, when somebody is just so sure about themselves, talking about things as if they know everything, people tend to believe them, though it might not be true unless you have the knowledge to adjust. Humanity will not progress in the way we want it, right? So
that's beautiful. Originally we had planned that we would finish up a bunch of sessions and then we will do a wrap up for the last hour. But I love how you're jumping in and we are having this conversation, because I think we are very good at this when we build off each other's. So thank you for that. So I want to show two videos, one on gender equality in startups, how to get gender equality in startups, and another is advice to women on building out their career, putting themselves out, taking risks, from a mentor in this space, right? So it ties back to what we were talking about, soft spoken but strong personality, women leadership topic, that soft skill topic. So I want to see, is there anything else that we have covered or observed from whatever we heard? So we spoke about deep learning, tied it back to generative AI. You have asked me a lot of questions about generative AI. I hope I've passed that within flying colors.
Yeah. People want to buy your book now.
And then I loved your panel on IoT about don't do anything in silos. That's the lesson I'm taking home with that. And I don't agree that Sneha Jadhav is still a student. She's got too much knowledge. And I love this AI product management from Irene. We did prompt engineering just now with Leah. And then we had a bunch of explainability that Myra Elahi was saying. I was asking Pariya, because she said, I work in my city, and she is from Ontario, Canada. So I just wanted to put that out there, because whenever in this global setting, when we hear about people, because Yaini was saying, I'm not doing much, and I'm doing it in my world, and your world is entire South Sudan, right? So that's interesting for me. And Asra, I think we started the day with Asra Aslam talking about PhD, advice to PhD, other than her technical presentation about computer vision. I think she did her PhD in Ireland, and that's what she was talking about, her PhD experience. And then she's at Leeds, UK. She's calling for people to collaborate with her on computer vision, on what she was offering. So with that, now should we see the last two videos and see what these two amazing women have to say for us to wrap up IoT Day?
Yes, that's a perfect wrap up for our theme.
Yes.
Soft-spoken but strong personality.
Right. So Ruth Naduta was here last year, and she showed us BERT. BERT is an AI generative AI model which does the next best click. but GPT does in a single directional. So if you feed some text to train, it says, what's the next word? What's the next word? And it builds out the probability map in its brain. BERT does this bidirectional. So if you have a sentence, it says what comes before this, what comes after this, and it stores both of that as some kind of relational matrix as a network in its brain that it looks back to make the prediction. So essentially, it's predicting words. She was covering that. So this time I said I did not ask for any specific topic, and I said, okay, you've been here before. You know what this is about. Talk to us. I didn't even tell her what the theme was. And she has done some interesting things. So let me show you her video so you will be able to capture her right spelling, because we were talking about being able to recognize people, pronounce them, find them back, and follow up their work. In this case, if we did not have the right spelling of Naduta, we are going to miss out on amazing learning from Miss Naduta. So here she is, Ruth Naduta, and she's been doing some interesting things, building out startups. And so let me play her.
Hello everyone, my name is Ruth, and today I want to speak about gender equity in startups. However, to start us off, let me tell you a little bit about myself. I'm currently a CEO in training at West Africa, based in Accra, Ghana. My background is telecommunication engineering. However, I got into data science and machine learning in the later part of my career, and I'm also a community leader. I champion for anything women-related, gender-related, inclusion-related in the data science field and machine learning. Now, I'm sure we are all wondering, what is this about gender equity? Just completing the International Women's Month, these are some of the powerful quotes that I found online about speaking on gender inclusiveness. So Hope said, a gender-inclusive tech ecosystem promotes women as capital allocators and value creators. My journey so far into the startup ecosystem has been great, but I did not fail to notice that women are seriously left out in the sectors of investment, being part of research, and also being part of the decision-making teams as founders. Guerra said, architects of our future should be representative of those who are building for this. It's important we not only empower women to participate, lead, and influence, but also folks from underrepresented backgrounds. These are people who probably do not share the same, the same privileges as we do, be it based on their color, be it based on their disability. Edward Bassi said a gender-inclusive world involves creating a culture where everyone feels safe and supported, where they can speak and be heard, and where everyone feels valued for who they are. And this is not something only a handful of people can do. It will take all of us to create a world like that. And this is exactly what made me speak about this, and especially in the startup scene, especially here in Africa and in other parts of the world. We've seen a lot of growth in the sector, a lot of money coming in and out of the continent, and money exchanging hands through VCs, through investments, through angel investment. I want to feel a gender inclusive. I want to feel the gender inclusivity, not only for women, but also for people from underrepresented backgrounds. Now, I'm sure you're all wondering, how can we ensure gender equity in tech startup? Here are a couple of talking points that I'll take you through. So the first thing is learn about biases women face at work. Exactly, not, pardon me, but when I say women, I don't want to be very gender-based, but also include people from underrepresented. So learn about the biases that we find that face in the workplace. Is it the race? Is it parents, depending on the number of children? Is it that they are disabled? Is it that their skills are not sufficient enough? Learn about all these things. And after that, develop a gender inclusive recruitment strategy. Your recruitment strategy should focus on attracting a diverse pool of applicants, including women and also people from underrepresented backgrounds. This could involve partnering with organizations that support women entrepreneurs, using inclusive language also in your marketing materials, and actively seeking out women-led communities. reaching out to these partnerships to offer targeted support, especially to women, who may have different needs and challenges than their male counterparts. Also from, let's say, people with disability, they might have different challenges compared to the other people. So it's important to offer targeted support that addresses their specific needs. This could come in many ways, involved offering mentorship from successful women, exposing them to opportunities that they really didn't know existed. Not only thinking locally, expand their thinking to think global, to think more broadly. Again, in the inclusive language and imagery, currently, even in machine learning, and I'm sure we've all seen this being talked about all over the internet. When you Google certain words, let's say a wedding, you're mostly prompted by Western wedding choices, but nothing comes up of a black wearing a traditional African, let's say, attire. Why? Because that is what the machines were trained on. So my purpose and my call for all of us is to take part in curating models, in collecting data, in annotating data that actually reflect where we're from, which reflect what you want to see on the internet. I feel like we leave it to the big Googles and the big companies to do this, but at the end of the day, it all comes down to us. Because if we contribute one person at a time, then you see the algorithm learn, you see the machine learn broadly, because we're giving it a range of data, a variety of data. So use inclusive language and imagery that appeals to a diverse audience. So this means also avoiding gendered language and images that may alienate potential female candidates and participants. Also involving people from under, make sure whatever you use is very inclusive. The branding around the company, the branding around your tech startup, let it be as inclusive as possible. Which message are you communicating? Is it just a certain gender-dominated field? No. Are there gender roles specific for women? No. We do not accommodate such biases in the current world right now. And if we do not speak about this actively, I feel that that's how we end up feeling left out. On outreach and partnerships, we want to work with organizations that support women entrepreneurs to expand your outreach and attract more female participation. So this may include partnering with women-led business groups, women-focused accelerators and incubators, and other relevant organizations, because you have, I know it's more work, but you have to get to where the women are. We are very comfortable working with fellow women. Like a friend of mine recently told me that if they were to speak on an issue, they would speak on an issue that more women actually speak about. So is it announced? Are more women speaking about that? Go find the women where they are. Go find your target audience where they are, because that is what you do. In another word, you can become or seek out a mentor, become one, seek out one, especially in Africa. We're always looking for people to look up to. We're always looking for people who we aim to be, we aspire to become. So I learned this from quite a young age. Back when my home is back in Nairobi, Kenya, I grew up in the village, and I always admired my mom because I saw how the big things she did and how she could change lives. However, when she exposed me to more opportunities, I realized, wow, there are more women, doing more things, more powerful things, working in boardrooms, making decisions. And just not on, my mom is but not only her, but also looking at other women aspects, the vice president of the US. I mean, it gives you pride to hold on to that and work towards that goal. So I cannot really underestimate the power of mentorship. So I always aim to become or seek out to be one. So the experienced women in the tech industry who can mentor and provide guidance to younger women who are just starting out. So this can help build a very supportive community and provide a safe space for women to share their experiences and challenges, because we've seen a lot of, like the #MeToo movement, if women did not speak up, and if these women spoke up and they did not have someone who could support them, voice support their voice and let it not just be shut down. I feel we'd still be very much behind. We still see a lot of cases of domestic violence, gender-based violence among women. My aim is to my hope and dream is one day to live in a world where women are actually believed when they say the first time and no one encouraging them just to give it a second chance. I mean, there's so many social issues we overlook or we are not able to speak out on because we fear who's going to believe it, who's going to be on my side, you know? But then if we as women, we as people from underrepresented communities, from the Latino, from the African, any community, if we come together, support each other, no matter what, we can be the women investors that we need. I want to see angel investment more for women, more women taking a seat at the VC tables, because as a startup founder right now, I want to walk in a room and not feel intimidated by the amount of testosterone in their place. I want to see women who actually champion for me. I want to see human recruitment agents who actually vouch for more women in the workplace. Some of the policies that we are currently talking about, even thinking about them myself as a CEO, I mean, I want policies that actually support women to thrive, to open up their creativity in the workplace, not for them to feel timid or shy or scared to voice out their point of views. It's not a battle against the male or the strong, but we want to create an equity that if I want to give you an opportunity, then I know that that opportunity fits your current situation. And not that I want to dim down the opportunity to just fit you, but I want to make sure that you are scalable and elastic as possible. So focusing on expanding your personal and professional network. I feel like connecting with people on LinkedIn. Thank you so much for the organizers of the IoT Day, again, reaching out to me for this day. If it was not through the power of networking on LinkedIn, organizing and attending events like this, or even just ask friends and colleagues for introductions where needed, because I know personally getting where I am, even the talk that I'm giving right now, I had my friend really supported me, a fellow woman, in knowing that such things, such talks are needed, especially in the startup system. Women in tech industry can network with each other to build relationships and share ideas. This can help create a sense of community and provide opportunities for collaboration. At times, women, we want to call back to our ideas. No, speak them out. You never know who's out there listening. You never know our allies. They might be able to fuel your dreams, to fuel your ambitions in the right direction. So lend your time and knowledge. Women, we can work together to provide training and education for each other on topics such as coding, programming, business development, communication development, and this can help build a strong foundation for women all over the world, not only Africa, but in all places, because one thing we said next is that we want to become globally successful. And I cannot become globally successful if my eyes are only looking at Ghana, if my eyes are only looking at Kenya. I want to look beyond. I want to dream beyond. I want to dream of a startup coming up and touching lives in different parts of the world, in the North Pole, in the South Pole. And I believe if we create such an environment for all of us to thrive, I know that this can go far. I've been looking at a couple of women-led startups, especially in the finance sector, and I see them thriving. And like the ones that are always faced with, what can I say, issues and gender-sensitive bias. I mean, there's a certain aura we bring and certain level-headedness we bring to the place. So I urge women, if it's entrepreneurship, take it up and do it to the best of your capability. And I might start becoming a little bit too emotional, but again, to reiterate on one of my favorite quotes from before, a gender-inclusive tech ecosystem promotes women both as capital allocators, investors, and value creators. I hope that we all get to create value from one woman to another. And once again, I hope that we get to live in a world that we no longer have to talk about gender equity because we have normalized it and it's part of our daily life, be it on maternity leave basis, be it on menstrual leave basis, in any sector that really affects women. Let's come together and actually vouch for our own rights because no one else is going to do. Thank you so much. And I hope to see a gender equity tech system. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's amazing passion. That's what we've been hearing today, right? You let your passion guide you and, don't limit yourself. Don't try to be an imposter. Don't kind of dim your light. That is what Olu said. Don't dim your light because it is, it's bright on somebody's face. So I actually met you when you were in a startup as a CTO of an IoT startup. So when they say, startup and equity, I was just thinking about you. So do you have anything to add to this?
I think, I started my first company when I was 19 with the support from my parents. So, and my family, I share with quite a few folks that we have 3 sisters and 3 of us are in tech and my brother's in business. I think having seen and get the support from people to start a business with, just even the funding, the tax advisory board, I was honored to be part of the IoT advisory board at one time, and recently part of HERDS, the company actually asked me to be part of their tax advisory board.
Nice.
Yeah, and it is, since it's a technology role and somebody asked, it's helpful and encouraging because, like you said before, some of us deem our own light just because, we're not used to it. And sometimes we're too busy with things. But that partly what helped me stay in touch even more and be part of the We Rise program to help mentoring future engineers and future entrepreneurs to continue to thrive, right? So the Leadership Academy program is an entrepreneurship program to make more leaders, make more entrepreneurs at University of Washington. So that's one of the plug I want to put in for there. But there are a lot of work we have to do.
That is your alma mater.
Rita and I, yes. Mm-hmm.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about that? What is this We Rise?
Yeah. So We Rise is a program at University of Washington. I can probably just share. It's a Women in Engineering. Let me share the link real quick.
Yes, I think many colleges are on the lookout for successful people, and then they go back to their alma mater. And so that's something that successful women get a validation that they call you back. My engineering college, where I did my computer science, found me recently. And then I went and gave a whole talk to thousands of faculty. It's very inspiring.
Yeah, this is the conference that I went to last week, and last Saturday, and we actually taught a workshop in finding your leadership styles. But that's just one of the workshop they would have available for women in engineering, especially those that are underserved, so that they actually can see how others, senior leaders, actually thrive. A couple of the Vietnamese students actually came to me and asked, Roxy, what are the blocker and barriers that I had? Came to the US without speaking English, and how do I thrive in the technologies field and become the leader, right? And I forgot that I didn't think about blocker. It took me a while to think about blocker just because I was born in a war zone. So anything is better than where I was there. So when there's a blocker, I usually find different ways to move ahead. So it's an opportunity to change course more so than blocker. And sometimes I jump over it, and sometimes I get support and move around it and do something else that make a difference. So we make use of whatever there. Survive. And that skill, that history, that muscle is there with many of us, and actually share with many students in school. That is, mentorship are so important for all of us, but every mentor has their own history, their own life experience, their own history and muscle that they build as they grow up, right? So the mentors can give you advice, but it is for you to look at as one of the situation that you could resonate with. You yourself decide what best for you. With your own experience. Another thing that brought up during our conversation earlier that so resonate to me is when somebody think that the position is best for you, that not necessarily is a good one for you from your point of view. So not just take somebody's thing that is best for you and settle with that. You know better about yourself. You know where you want to go. At different state of your life, you might want to push for something else. So not going with the norm, everyone's expectation, I think is one of the thing I learned a lot from here and can resonate with my own journey. And not exactly what I was sharing to the women in engineering at the workshop last Saturday. So I just want to share that so many of us can maybe can resonate and be happy and be authentic the way you are.
I remember at work when I was in eBay, I got introduced to this concept of, mentor versus sponsor. Nobody talks about it till you reach a certain level of the ceiling, right? And I was told mentor helps you, guides you, they might not have the power to do more, right? A sponsor is looking out for you, is a believer even when you're not in the room. And I had my own experience with mentors and sponsors. I'm grateful for the ones who helped me. I'm grateful for the ones who came in my way and did not help me, that got me to kind of go around and develop that extra muscle and resilience and move on too. I didn't feel that way that time. But once I understood that you need a sponsor who's not in the room, and I was just like, why didn't I hear about this? Why didn't anybody tell me about this? Right. So one of the things I did is, like I came as a first engineer from my family. I came to US, pre-web internet. So, things were not as connected. And so I like to help people. I like to share information and, that things, activities I do, right, is motivated from that. Similarly, I was just thinking, I mentor a lot of people. Mentoring my team was important. Mentoring my students was important. I decided I'm going to be a sponsor to people who have potential, who are putting in the effort, who are ready at that time, but I'm going to do that, not even going to tell them. So many of my, when I get calls to talk, I might not do that. I might pass it on to somebody. I don't even give it to other people and call them, right? It's not just limited to women, but a lot of them are women in my support network that I would like to mentor and sponsor. But I just do that. I look out for people and I say, oh, this person has potential. And I would find an opportunity and make a connection and say, why don't you hire them? Why don't you give them this internship? And why don't you give them this opportunity? Or, something like that. And so I just think that's such a fulfilling feeling. And especially, I think when you mentor somebody, if you go give them something, they might not be ready. And then if one of the advice I got from one of my very good managers at work is, when I open a door for you, I'm putting my reputation on stake with other people. And so I expect you to run. If I open the door and you're just sitting, okay, am I ready? Do I need to prepare this? What should I do? And the door shuts on you, it's insulting for me. So you have to run. And so I felt that also about people I mentor, they might not be ready. Like you said, that might not be the right opportunity at that point in time. And they'll have to make a choice. So sometimes I'm not a mentor, I'm a sponsor. And I just sell behind their, without them knowing, I send an opportunity their way through the right channel, and then they take it or they don't take it or do whatever it contributes to their growth in some form.
Yeah, and I think it's that part of the thing to be finding people in your tribe so they understand you. They can be not only mentor but sponsor. This is part of the suggestion I had to many folks that I know in my circle is share with others what you want, what you wish to achieve, what you want to help others, so that those that in the room when you're not there, beside your sponsor, that's the different title, right? Different label that we use. But people in your tribe, your circle, your network, they don't know, and they can actually promote for you when you're not even there. But if you have a wish or you have something that you really want and you don't share with anyone, the universe will not know and there to support you. That is so important, right? And the part I think I want to mention here is, like, you not just said it, right? You have sent quite a few opportunities to me. Besides, everyone else is there. I can say, Sudha did that. She not just say it, she did it, right? And the thing is, beside whether or not somebody ready, people like us, we have so many things, we have so much interest, right? So that people keep saying some people have too much, you need to focus and things like that.
Yes, I don't focus. I do right. That goes with my flow. But so whatever I'm doing, I deliver like 110%.
Yes, exactly.
I live up to my own bar.
Yes. So the thing is it's okay to tell. It's okay for me when you send me something that might not be my something that I want to move forward yet. Then Sudha, you can send it to somebody else, pass it along before it's too late, so that the door shut on you. Because just be transparent, be clear, know what you want, and move forward. Or if you don't know what you want, work on.
I get jobs all the time. I get called on jobs. I get called on speaker ops. Lot of different opportunities, right? Writing a book. I was not even thinking of writing this book when somebody was calling me to write another book related to AV, and my head was not in that space at that time. But I said, what about this other student of mine? And then they could do this. And
you sent me the book writing opportunity, but I
did send you one. I don't remember.
Yes, you just sent me one, but it said not. There's a reason not to proceed, and you understand that.
Yeah,
just said you do that a lot for sure.
So I also find it is good relationship, right? When somebody wants, is the recruiter is looking for somebody. If I say I'm not interested, we are kind of shutting the door on their face. Instead, if I take a moment to think, do I know anybody in my network?
Yes.
And who would benefit, and maybe that's the right person. Yes. Sometimes I would go out of my way and I would go check with that person and say, is this something that would be interesting for you? Let me give that recruiter your name. Sometimes I might make that call and say, hey, go find this person. And then they would go reach the person. It depends. But that it's a good relationship, because then the recruiter is not going to shut the door on me next time. They're going to come back to me, and I can help other students of mine. It's just, it takes a lot of time. So you have to kind of juggle that a little bit. So almost reaching the end. So I want to show one amazing person, and we're going to close with her. This is Mosima Mesate, and she's from South Africa. And all these videos that we are at least showing, the ones are the recorded ones we streamed from 5 o'clock yesterday night onwards, our time, and they're all in my YouTube channel under IoT Day Women 2023. And Pariya was reminding us, we will put this on the Teachable site, which is the homepage for IoT Day Women, where we have a lot of our past recordings. So let me start her intro, and then I will forward a little bit.
My career journey. Hi, everybody. I'm Mosima Mesate. I'm going to share with you my career journey. I am from South Africa, and I'm working at the University of Sefako Mahato Health Sciences University. And I'm also a PhD candidate at the Durban University of Technology. It is exciting to take you through my journey.
I love
the first question that I ask is, who am I? Isn't it so true that I'm a human being? I'm a daughter to my mom. I'm a sister to my siblings. And I'm a woman walking in the world. I'm a mother to somebody. And also, I am a teacher to my student, to every child that I'm educating and interacting with. I am a mentor. I'm a data scientist for academic project, and I'm an academic presenter or a lecturer. I do research, so I'm a researcher. And I like singing. When I'm happy, when I'm sad, I express my feelings singing. That is an unending list. So it is very important to understand that in life, we serve different roles being one person. I'm just one lady, but for me to qualify or to begin with, I have to be a human being so that people are able to recognize me and accept me in the humankind. When my mom look at me, she see her daughter. Doesn't matter how old I'm getting. It doesn't matter how mature, doesn't matter my position at work. I am her daughter. When my father looked at me, she said, I'm happy to see my daughter. So I cannot change that. It is very important that in life, we should realize that we are human beings and we play different roles at different times. That does not change who you are. You need to be yourself in every role that you play around. So when it's time for you to become a daughter to your parents, really become a good daughter. When it's time for you to be a sister, create a shoulder where your little ones would lay their head and comfort themselves. And as a woman, you need to stand and uplift other young women. Stand and uplift the woman next to you. As a teacher, what do? You need to educate to your level best. Serve your children as a mother, honestly. And if you're assigned mentees, make sure you relate with them, you create a strong relationship, mentor them accordingly. You know, as a data scientist, you need to explore different projects, be able to understand and be up to date with the skills that is needed. Don't be lazy. Be interested to explore more skills in data science. That is the only way. It's a very crucial and challenging period, especially if you grow, you find new technology. Today we are having model after model each week, every day we meet new things. It's like information overloading, but what do? You create your brackets, you create and say, I want to achieve this, I want to learn this. I am a researcher. A researcher is somebody who collaborates locally, internationally. You create your own network. You work with the people. I can say this one person plays different roles at different times. When it's time to sing, I explore who I am. I explore the inner person in me that I can sing to the last part of my voice. I can sing loud. And I do have an African voice, by the way. So it's very, very interesting when I express myself in that particular time. So we can take the list and it can find that it's a very list that cannot be ending now. As you grow, you meet, you appointed in different positions, you get new roles time after time. But don't forget who you are. You are just one person. To begin with, you are a human being. So behave as a human being. Remember, you need human around you to feel alive. So here is some of my colleagues. We're celebrating a Women's Day. And here also, it's me when I was speaking, giving address to some of the occasions, encouraging young ladies. Now, part of my career journey is like this. Recently, I'm a lecturer at Sifakumahato Health Science University called SMU, as I just shared with you. And my role there is to educate undergraduates and postgraduates. So I do also serve as a member of the Women in Leadership Forum, VOLF, which promotes women empowerment in academic environments, which also includes science and technology sphere. So a growing researcher in the field of machine learning is who I am. I told myself that when I was doing undergraduate during my time, there was no language talk about machine learning, data science, natural language processing. It came when I was in completion of my master's. Then I said, I'm going to pursue, I'm going to take those and explore new skills and make sure that I achieve. You know, with such roles that I just shared with you, one can imagine how critical it may be that one should be able to play different roles at the same time. That is the good part about us women. We are smart people. We are here to play different roles. They call us multitasker because a woman can cry and smile at the same time. You need to stand firm and make sure that you go and achieve your goal. So to make sure that our indigenous language are not left out, I said, I'm going to play a role. I'm going to take this as part of my PhD study and explore more on how African indigenous language can be explored and be able to be included in the coming era of artificial intelligence. Now, one other thing that I can share with you is that I serve as a chair in various research sessions internationally, the international conferences, and also I managed to review some of the publications in accredited journals, conference proceedings, and also book chapters, just to mention the few. And I also play a role as a mentor in datathons and hackathons to build my students in achieving the AI skills, in achieving the machine learning, in achieving the latest technology, the cutting edge, so that they are employable, so that they are compatible, and they are able to raise the flag as young generations. And I just want to share with you my motto. My life motto is that never wait for your turn in life. Create it. Never wait for somebody to tell you that it's the right turn for you. No, create it. You must be the person with the key. You must be the one knowing that this is the time. I am taking it and I'm going to make it perfect. See? Again, never sit comfortably. No, sit at the edge of your chair because life is too short. You need to achieve so many things within a short period of time. You need to make sure that you set your goals broadly. Do not narrow your scope. Explore as much as you can. You know, as a young lady, explore as much as you can. That when life comes, when you grow, you can shape it. When all opportunities comes, you'll fit in. Never wait to be welcomed to the table. No, create your own table. And the people of your character will just connect and be hooked. be a leader. All this that I'm sharing to you, they are the ego of a leader. A leader does not sit comfortably on a next door table. No, they explore, they create their own, they network, and they build their own web. Now, lastly, I want to share with you ladies about my dream. You know, by the time I retire, I will be so proud to see me empowering every young woman that I came across in the educational sphere, in the community sphere. You know, I need to make sure that I empower every young woman or lady to stand on their ground and shine. This is a tool that is gold. They should be able to stand on the ground and shine.
Okay, so this looks like a logical place to pause. I'm so glad. I mean, I've heard all of this. We set this up. Paria had helped, collect all the videos and follow-ups and put this up. And I set this up to schedule. This was, Wasima is in South Africa. And she said one of the things she chose to do was to support AI for indigenous African languages. And that's how I met her at NeurIPS in last December, when Susanna and I went with Global South in AI. And it was one of those things, like you meet people and you connect and they are doing this. I didn't know anything about her work. And then we had a whole bunch of researchers and we presented and we did everything. And then we were eating food and we were so tired by the end of the day. So I go sit at a table and Musiba was in that table. And like you said, you create your opportunity. But even when I was so tired and she was so tired, end of the day, we just hit it off. And she had that spark. And I said, I need to connect with her. I did not think what I would do with her at that point, right? But you could see she loves mentoring. She is so authentic. And that's the, like she said, you just, when you say you think you're a human being, what does she mean? Like, I just connected with her as a human being. I didn't have any agenda, nothing, right? And today's message for me again and again, right from morning, was be authentic. Don't dim your light. And don't wait for somebody else. Even Shweta said that, right? Shweta said, don't judge yourself, because if you're at a table, you have a place. That's why you're at the table. Just be yourself, right? And there was also this message of build a tribe of people who believe in you. So that, again, this was very beautifully worded by Shweta, saying, have that so that it's a purpose for you, a statement for you. It helps your career, but also it's a statement for you of why you're doing what you're doing. And so you keep doing that beyond any particular role or project or team at any given time. So I want to hear any takeaway that you have on your end, and then I'm going to just wrap up. We've done our 8 hours of live craziness, and I'm so thankful for having you in my life and having you believing in my craziness. So
Thank you so much, Sudha. I know you have done an amazing job in recapping the whole event and how you actually connect with everyone as a human being. And this is an example of, I would say, you create a tribe for yourself and for many of us. You inspire us. For me, as a leader, inspire, empower, and impact come a long way. You create a space where all of us can be inspired. Not only that, you create connection and knowledge so we can empower to do something with what we're inspiring to do. And together we create positive impact to our current world and our future leaders. And that is what I want to wrap with, is thank you to all that come to the event today, in person, in spirit, and always with us in the tribe. That I think Sudha has so much to share with us. She brought so much to make this tribe a positive tribe and expand above and beyond each of us create our own table, our own network. And there's just one of many tribes out there in the world for the women to succeed. So thank you.
Thank you, Roxy. I appreciate this. And for all of you who are watching, we are given a lot of credit, but I would share that very joyfully with Pariya Sarin, who helped organize, make us smart, and get this operationalized. So thank you so much, Pariya. If you want, you can jump in. Otherwise, I'm going to just thank you, and I'm going to wrap up. And bit.ly/IoT Women is our homepage, where we have this year's and past years and a lot of recordings, and we will put all these recordings back. If you're watching this on LinkedIn or YouTube, you can just watch this stream for the afternoon segment from 1 o'clock and about 4 hours. And with that, I'll wrap up. Thank you, everybody, and stay safe and stay connected, and come back and tag people who will benefit from this, and we will be in touch. And hopefully I will see you all in some mode before next IoT Day. And maybe you can join weekly Wednesday, where we do our speaker series. And many of you said you are working on research, you want to collaborate. Look at all the people that we met today, or we shared resources, and see what you can find for collaboration. So hopefully we'll build that. Pariya is clapping, so okay, she's not talking. Thank you so much, Pariya.
Thank you. Okay, thank you everyone for
Thank
joining.
you so much, Pariya. Do you want to say anything, Pariya?
Well, I can maybe say something really quick, which is thank you for joining. I hope you had a nice IoT Day this year, and we'll see you for the next IoT Day. And also join us at the link, and you can bit.ly/IoT Woman, and you can look at all our recordings there and see our past archives as well.
Thank you so much. Okay, bye. Let's do a photo shoot. I know Pariya is not coming on camera, but we can do a video. She has a beautiful picture. So thank you. Okay, bye guys. Bye. See you. I'm going to end the recording.